Okay, we are about to be live on YouTube. I'm going to put the link here so that we can share. Share the link. Yay, I see Ojinika on my screen. We are about to be live on YouTube. I'm going to put the link here so that we can share. Admit all. Chat. We are now live. We are now live on YouTube. Please share. Oh my God, I'm feeling so cool right now. It's the first time. Yesterday, I did not recognize you. Where's your big hair? Wait, let me see. Let me ask you to unmute. Okay, unmute.
Oh, sorry. I was literally speaking. I didn't know that I was mute. I don't have my big hair today. This is my real hair.
Okay, Women Radio. Let me ask Women Radio to unmute. Yes, you can record. Yes, you can record. Ask to unmute. Women Radio. Yes, you can record. Am I supposed to do something? Please note that.
Yes, ma. We are trying to record, but we need your permission to record.
Okay, so I should go in the settings and give you permission or what?
Yes. Thank you.
Okay, I'm making you a co-host. Would that allow you to record?
Yes, ma. That would allow us to record.
All right, fantastic. Thank you very much.
No problem. Thank you, ma.
Okay. We have Women Radio live. They're going to be putting highlights on. Yay! Okay, let's see. I'm going to. Alrighty. So I'm going to make Sakina the co-host as well. Okay. Oof, God. This is nerve-wracking. Let's see. Opinion. God. Better put off my Wait, Ojinika, I'm going to ask you to unmute. Okay.
I have a question. Can I keep eating my yam?
Hey,
God. I'm just asking, since I'm not speaking yet, can I be eating? Is it weird?
Hey, God.
What? I'm
sorry. Told everybody in this life that you're a celebrity. Why are you doing this?
I just want to know because I have my yam. I was just wondering, but I can wait. It's fine. Okay, never mind. Mute me again. I just want to make sure.
Hey, do you know that Yetunde is from New York? Next time she'll see you on television, she'll say you're not a real celebrity. God. Whew. Who's I? Good afternoon, America. Good evening, Nigeria. You're most welcome to SheEO. It is indeed, a pleasure to have you here. This is the 10th edition of SheEO. My name is Tope Fajingbesi Balogun, and I am the convener and the host of SheEO. I honestly didn't think, when I came up with this idea in 2014, I didn't think that we will be here in 2021. I didn't even think that we will be, I didn't think that we will be, having a 10th edition. And certainly when the world went, crazy last year with COVID, I was sure that this was the end of SheEO. As a matter of fact, we were going to SheEO Abuja. For some of you who, were following on social media, we were about to do SheEO Abuja. It was supposed to be the 8th edition of SheEO. And just like that, it was gone. There was no SheEO Abuja. I just looked at my suitcase, which I refused to unpack. I deliberately, as an act of rebellion, I refused to unpack that suitcase because I said, what do you mean I will not go to Nigeria? Well, I didn't go to Nigeria from March last year. I haven't been to Nigeria since March last year. But, just while we were at home and all of us dealing with the challenges of the lockdown, I really just thought, we have to keep the conversation going. And so we did this series of SheEO 8.0 and then this SheEO 9.0, all virtually in 2021. And now I thought this is the last one, hopefully, that we will do virtually. This is the last one. Hopefully we will, go back in person very soon. And we would be able to convene in London, in New York, in DC, in Texas, in Lagos, in Abuja, in Southeast and South Nigeria, because these are conversations that are, worth having. I'm saying this now, putting it out to the universe, but the truth of the matter is, I still asked myself a minute before I logged onto this Zoom that what exactly is the bright idea behind this thing, because this thing drives me crazy. But I know that at the end of this evening, after we, all bond and do all the nice things, yes, Bash, Toronto is happening by the grace of God. When we all bond and we all have these conversations that matter, that, things will, I would remember why we're doing this. Before I go through the agenda for today, I want to give a quick shout out to those people who are sponsoring us today. And let me see why I can't. Okay, I have pinned. Okay, all right. So I want to just quickly thank our sponsors, our silver sponsors, my amazing friends from Sakina, please admit guests as they're coming in. My amazing guests, partners from KPMG, Mr. Adewale Ajayi, Mr. Dimeji Salaudin, Mr. Ayo Salami, Mrs. Toyin Gbagi, and my dear friends Latifa and Edith. Thank you so much for being amazing sponsors. I also want to thank Alliant, is a law firm in Lagos, and I want to thank the Health and Beauty Whole Food Store, the Hale and Hattie Pharmacy. Thank you so much for sponsoring. These are our silver sponsors. They're the ones who make it possible for us to pay for everything we have to pay for. You think that since this is virtual, we don't have to pay for anything, but we have to pay for a lot. And our bronze sponsors, Miss Osai Ojigo, Mr. Tosio Koje, and Miss Yetunde, Daniel Ayoade, and of course, our media partner, Women Radio 91.7 FM. I cannot thank Women Radio enough. They're always lending a hand to SheEO, always lending a hand. This is just unbelievable. So thank you so much, our sponsors. We're really, really grateful. And one of our sponsors just came into the waiting room and we just been thanking her. Anyway, I want to quickly run through the agenda for today, as well as the agenda for Saturday. Today, at 10 minutes past the hour, we're going to host my sister, my Aburo, who just makes me proud. I cannot believe that she's not 30 years old yet. I can't. Dr. Yetunde Adewunmi. If you haven't seen her bio on the SheEO 100 website, please make sure you go see it. Sakina, please put a link to the bio in the chat box so people can read the bios. We're also going to host alongside her, Miss Maryam Bukar. She is, you know her. She's a poet. She's amazing. When I was reading this lady's bio, I was like, wait, how old is she again? And then I was like, wait, she's like 25 years old. This cannot be. What have I been doing with my life? But she has done so much. If you go to YouTube and just type Maryam Bukar, you'll see all of the amazing poems and all the amazing stages that she's been on. They're going to talk to us about the challenges of being young and impactful. After that, my dear sister on Channels Television, Shola Shiriele, will be interviewing the only celebrity I know in New York City, Miss Ojinika Obiekwe. Like, she's the only one I know who has won an Emmy, and she's the only one I know who can say that she's Tyler Perry's cousin. She's going to be, spotlighting. That's exactly what's going to be, a spotlight on, her and her journey so far. We'll take a break for 15 minutes, and when we come back, we would have our Men on Board segment. This segment is the reason why I decided I would make SheEO 2 days, because we have some hot questions. I actually prefaced my email to the men by saying, please forgive me if you feel offended by any of these questions. Please forgive me if some of these questions seem personal, but they're not. there are elephants that we have to deal with in the room. So we're going to do that at 7:30 Nigerian time, which is 2:30 p.m. Eastern time. After that, we will adjourn until Saturday. So, but before we go on, I want to, if you've been to SheEO before, I want to ask you to please tell us in the chat box what your expectations are. What are your expectations for today? What are your expectations? How are you feeling? What are your expectations? Let's hear in the chat box. To be inspired, uplifting event. Okay, we're going to try. To be blown away as always. Oh, thank you. Okay. Hoping to be inspired and energized. To be inspired and fired up to go out and bless the world. Thank you. All righty. Feeling excited, expecting rejuvenation, and reminded of why I am here on earth. I never know. We feel uncommon and sometimes uncomfortable conversations. Yes. So Amani, who just made that comment in the chat box, is one of those male producers of SheEO. Amani is one of the male producers. Amani is the one, if you've spoken at SheEO before, most likely Amani gave me your name and told me to invite you. He goes on the internet and says, what about this person? What about that person? You know, this is who he is. All righty. And you guys can share. Today's event is open to men and women. You can share the you can invite people using the Zoom link, or you can also tell them to join us on YouTube. Post the links. I'm going to post the YouTube link once again for us to invite our friends and family, because this will be full. This is us on YouTube. Invite your friends, invite your family. Everyone is welcome, men and women. You are all welcome. You are all welcome. Okay. In 1 minute, we're going to go live. We are live on YouTube. I can spell. Okay. SheEO. Male producers, yes, trust me. Amani is one of those male producers. He is one of them. Okay, so I'm going to ask, let me see if we have Maryam, if Maryam is on with us yet. I don't see Maryam, but I see Yetunde is on. I'm going to pin. Okay, Maryam just got in. I'm going to pin, make spotlight your video. And I'm also going to spotlight Maryam as well. Okay, so Maryam, I'm going to ask you to please, yes, fantastic. Okay, so Sakina, I'm going to hope that you have your eyes on the waiting room. Okay, all right, everyone. Whew, thank God we're starting at 6:10 as agreed, no Nigerian time. My first guest today and the first hot seats today are these young ladies who inspire me. They inspire me. Like, you know, these ladies, these two ladies are under 30. By the way, ladies, Ojinika told me that she should have been on this panel, that I'm saying that she's old, because she looked at both of you and she was like, why is she not here on this panel? But I shall say nothing. So I'm going to ask you both to unmute. Let's see, ask you both to unmute, if I can do that. Let's see, ask to unmute. Okay, and I'm going to ask Yetunde to unmute as well, so that, and these ladies, they've received the questions in advance. So they know that some of the questions are a little bit hot. They're a little bit hot, but this is what we do here. Achio, ask the uncomfortable questions. So Yetunde, I'm going to start with you. You finished your undergraduate degree with a distinction in biology. You earned a PhD in something I don't know how to pronounce. And my small brain can't even comprehend it. You received 11 and counting academic excellence awards, research fellowships, for outstanding contributions to research, teaching, mentorship, and science communication. I don't even know what that is. Like, I watched one of your interviews that you had with IHS in Nigeria, and I was trying to understand some of your work, and I was like, oh my God, this is beyond my pay grade. And you are not 30 years old yet. My first question is, do you still ever struggle with imposter mentality? If you do, how do you deal with it?
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much. I have to call you Sister Tifaj for inviting me to this wonderful platform and for giving me the opportunity to share and learn from other people. I'm very happy to be here. So your question, I almost want to return the question back to you about if I ever feel like an imposter. Not all the time. I would say on there are two different reasons why I always feel like I'm an imposter or why I have an imposter syndrome. Is one, whenever I have to do something I've never done before. And secondly, if I am not prepared to do something. So those are always the reasons. If I've done things, like for instance, I teach a lot, right? The first time I taught in my life, I felt like an imposter. I didn't feel like I had what it took to be able to teach. After semesters and semesters and semesters of teaching, I would walk into any class bold and free and all of that. So anyways, upon all my academic awards and everything, when I finished my PhD, this one was what even shook me the most. The American Society of Microbiologists, and I'm not using this to brag in any way, they spotlighted my research and said that it was something of significant importance to the world. So now that was after my graduation. I didn't apply for anything. I didn't do anything. And then after graduation, I got a job as a postdoctoral research scientist at New York State Department of Health in a particular lab. And believe you me, everything that I did, I was failing seriously at it. And I could not understand why. And I would question myself, but I want this degree. I got this job on merit. Nobody gave me this job. It was my CV that I produced, and I was able to back everything up, based on the interviews that we had, and they hired me for this. And then all of a sudden, all the experiments that they hired me specifically for, it wasn't working. I felt so little, I felt so small. And it was just something that I had never gone through before in my life. Even though I generally try to humble myself, I just felt like, oh my God, like maybe I wasn't ready for after graduation. I wasn't ready for this. But eventually I had to start talking to myself a lot and be like, hey, today, not everybody can lie to you. Even if your advice or lied that you were a great student, the people that gave you award at the science communication conferences that they've never met you before, almost 10 of them, they didn't lie to you because I didn't pay my way through. It was my work that they looked at and they gave me the award. I started saying to myself, even though maybe my advisor liked me or my teachers liked me, American Society of Microbiologists, they didn't like me. They didn't know me. It was what I did that they used to, that they gave me what they gave me. So that really helped me. Every day I had to stand up and be brave. I just literally had to stand up and be brave for myself and be like, you deserve it. You are who you say you are. Your work is speaking for you. So yes, I suffer a lot of times from imposter syndrome. And two is for two reasons. One, whenever I'm not prepared, and that's an easy fix. If I know that I'm getting in a space that I've never been in before, I try as much as I can to prepare. And secondly, these are things that you just get thrown into a new job and you are with new people with things you've never done before. You have to own it. You own your space and be like, listen, I'm here on merit. I've got what it takes. I'm going to do it. So that's how I move on with my life.
Oh my God. That just reminded me of when I came to America and my boss started asking me, this was a new job that I got, well, not on merit, but because the controller at the time was an English soccer fan. And I was also an English soccer fan, and we somehow found that out during the interview. And then this guy decided to hire me and give me a step higher. So, but I got there and I started feeling like such a failure. And the first boss I had asked me, do you know how to use Excel? And I said, yes. And he kept harping on it. Do you know? And I was like, wait, I haven't even produced anything. And you're already making me feel bad. And throughout my first 3 months in that job, I felt so bad that I had, now if you enter my house, one of the first things you will see is my miniature awards and certificate. I made miniature copies of all of them, put them in a big giant frame and put it in such a way that I see it all the time to remind myself that this is you, this is who you are. Before I go to Maryam, I want to ask you one more question. Do you still hear and struggle with, this is too much for a woman, Jare?
Okay, so this one, to be very, very honest, and I don't know if it's because of the type of people that I surround myself with, like you, I do not, I don't have people, I haven't been unlucky to have people around me that speak such things to me. Like, I mean, my mom was someone who was successful in her career. She was also successful as an entrepreneur, and she was pulling it successfully at home as well. So I have grown up to see women do several different things, have multi-influential capacities to do things. So I've never really looked at myself as someone, because I'm a woman, then I can't really do things. I see myself as a person that, my faith is a big part of me, that God has really graced to be on this path that I have been on. And I always see myself like, listen, you are a woman. Even if you are a woman, you have all these different things that are going together for you, not because I deserve the accolades, but because I'm supposed to be a light for other people. There's several people that are suffering with the things that I can help with. I know that specifically I help biologists, right? So if I have been fortunate enough and I worked hard at it to be able to get everything that I have, then even if I'm a woman, why won't I help them? Why shouldn't I be able to do all these things that I'm doing? So I see myself as this person all the time. I don't let anybody speak to me that, because I'm a woman, then I should, reduce the frequency or the amount of things that I do on a regular basis. Absolutely not. If I was a woman that was just called to marry and have a child, God wouldn't have created me with brains. He would have made me a womb, right? I heard that from someone, that you would have not been a womb popping out babies all the time. You wouldn't have the form that you have, the brains that you have, and things like that. So that has always stuck with me, where I'm like, yes, I'm a woman, but I'm also a person with gifts that I have to give other people so that they won't suffer and go through the things that I had to go through to be able to get to where I am today. So that's my small philosophy.
If God had just wanted me to be a woman who only had babies, He would have just given me a womb. That is just amazing. That's, when people ask me why I engage both Nigeria and America, even though I've lived here for about 20 years, I always say, if God wanted me to be just an American, He would not have given me that horrible stop of 25 years in Nigeria first. So there's a reason why He gave me that first 25 years in Nigeria before bringing me here. So that means I'm supposed to engage both. Thank you very much. I really learned a lot from that. Maryam, oh my Lord. First of all, I don't know if my friend Dr. Amina is on this call, but I just want to thank her for seconding me extending an invitation to you. And thank Amani Mamodu Amani told me about you like maybe last year, kept hammering, you have to bring her to Shio. And then when Dr. Amina then said, you must bring her to Shio, I said, okay, let me go find this lady. So I'm going to ask you to unmute, okay? And then I'm going to say, you are a renowned poet. I mean, seriously. There's this poet who read at the inaugural, Amanda Gorman. And when she was reading for real, I was like, this is Maryam. This is supposed to be Maryam, or Maryam is even better. I'm like, she's supposed to be here. And you've been on stages that are just huge. You released a spoken word album when you were 21. I'm an accountant. I was calculating your age when you were doing all these things. I'm like, she was 21. She released a spoken word album. And your video titled Violence Has No Religion has gathered over 3 million views. And you are not even 25 years old yet. Child, God. But you are a Nigerian and you are a Northerner. So there must have been roadblocks. And those are the roadblocks I want to talk about. The first roadblock is, in spite of all of these things that you've achieved as a poet, as somebody who speaks, who uses her words to speak, do you still hear people saying, when are you going to begin your real career, your real job?
Good evening, everyone. First of all, I really like to say thank you to Auntie Tope for having me here. And Miss Yetunde, you're awesome. You're amazing. When I read a bit about you, I said, am I even worthy to speak next to you? And I'm truly humbled to be on this platform with great women like you. And thank you, Mama Amina, for suggesting that I come on CEO. And also, before I answer the question, so I released the spoken word album at 17 and did the video at 17. So it's the second one that I worked on. The first book, that I worked on at 21. Wow. Yes. So yes, I actually still do hear people tell me, when are you going to get a real job, especially when I meet people that are not millennials. So I feel like it's the generational gap, because our fathers, that's really what they know. They feel like you should go to school, get that degree, and get to an office and work under somebody, get the experience, and then, still maybe just get a higher government job. And to be honest, I don't exactly blame them, because that's all they know. And then now it's our duty to try and bridge that generational gap. So I still do hear it from people. And even when I started, my father was not supportive. And he said really horrible things to me, which I forgive him, because again, that's all he knows. And it's fine. And it's all because sometimes our parents, they just want security for us. And it's not because they hate us. And I think also we millennials, we need to understand that it's not because they hate us, but it's because they're so scared that they just want security for their children, and that's all they know. So we have to make those excuses for them, and people that are also older and don't understand the shift that's happening. So yes, I still do hear that.
That is crazy. And on the other side of that is, I started to do some research about you, and I found out who your mom was. And your mom was a trailblazer, groundbreaker in not just Kannywood, Nollywood, like all the wood. And I'm like, oh my God. But I also then found out that there were people who called her a prostitute for being a northerner who is into arts. So having that sort of baggage, watching people, hearing people call your mom this kind of unprintable things, how could you then choose to go in the arts line as well? Weren't you afraid that you would get some of this stigma that she was getting?
I think I watched how she handled it gracefully, and how she made me understand that it's because they are ignorant, and art is something that not everybody understands the beauty of it. And if you see the beauty of it, it doesn't matter. They would fall into place when they finally see what you're made of. And it's not a coincidence when there is art in you, because God put that in you, and God is a creator. So it's okay if he gives a little bit of himself to you and say, okay, create something too. And so they don't understand the power in that. And so you're a higher being, and it's fine. And it's very okay for people to misunderstand you. And so she made it very clear to me. And then she gave me the floor to explore as much as possible, because I actually tried up to 7 things before I finally settled on what I wanted to do. And the interesting thing about that was, when I started, she never asked me, how are you going to make money from it? She said, do you love what you're doing? Are you happy? And I said, yes. And she said, the money would follow. So I actually, at first, when I misunderstood it, because when people were calling her that, of course she's my mom, so I'd feel hurt, and some people would say it to spite me, and then I'll go back and I'll tell her, but I'll see that she's smiling and she's talking to me with so much grace, and I say, how do you forgive them? And she said, because they don't know what they're about. So it's fine.
Wow.
So from that power, that power from her words, it just made me feel like it really doesn't matter what people say about you. So it built that thick skin. And so now you can say whatever, and I'm just looking at you like this, because again, she says that you have to assume that they are blind, and a blind man cannot see where you're going. So it is okay when he asks and when he gets angry, because he cannot see.
That is.
So you have to make excuses for them.
That is deep. That is deep. That is deep. You know, I have no doubt that you're really called to use your words to heal, because I was just hearing things there. I'm hearing things like, you know, when God gives you a piece of himself, you know, I'd never really thought about creativity that way at all. I'd never thought about it. Yesterday, let's go to the elephant. You are in your 20s, late 20s, and you're not married yet. And I was watching this Nollywood movie for the second time. It's okay. I was watching it for the second time just last week, and one of the lines that stuck out to me the first time I watched it and the second time was the lead character said, "So it doesn't matter what a woman accomplishes. She could find a cure for AIDS. She could find a cure for world hunger, or even cancer, and it wouldn't matter unless she bags a husband and pops out some babies." Do you still feel that, you know, what you have achieved does not matter in some circles because you're not Mrs. somebody or you're not Mama somebody yet?
Oh, okay. So I've never really shared this openly before, but not that it matters anyways. But for me, it's the direct opposite. And maybe it's because of the experience that I had. So I got out of not a long distance, a relationship where one of the reasons why we had to end things was because it felt like it felt like I was seemingly doing better than they were. So they literally ended things with me because I was going too far with my dreams or with my life. So this started to plague me mentally, that, oh my God, like, is it because am I too young to have a PhD? Am I too young to be getting all these awards? Am I too young to be doing all these different things that I'm doing? Is that going to cost me my ability to get married? So it's not really, it's like the opposite of the question that you asked me, where you're just like, where you're like, oh, everything means nothing because until you are married. But for me, it's like, this is the thing that is probably preventing me from getting into a relationship. And again, I always try to do a deep work in myself, where I just sit down with myself and I think about myself, and I'm like, if God could, so I tend to think a lot that, oh my God, I'm too much for people. You know, whoever is going to marry me is probably going to think that I'm too much for them and all of that. But then I felt like I started thinking one day to myself, where I'm like, listen, if God created you and you are blessed to be able to do all these different things that you're doing at your age, there certainly has to be somebody who is better than you, or almost the same as, or, you know, as equal as you, because there's a social statistic or thing, or a social construct that men are supposed to marry either same with them or lower than them. They never tend to go higher because of this thing called imposter syndrome as well. So I always say to myself all the time that, God, anytime that I think to myself that I would never end up with somebody that is doing as equally as good as I am or better than I am, then I'm insulting God. Then I'm saying to God that, God, you don't know what you're doing, guy. Like, you know, that's like being too proud, in my own opinion, where if I'm this good, in quotes, because good is relative, right? Then there has to be somebody that is better than me out there somewhere. And, you know, that was what completely healed my mindset of feeling, you know, too small, that I would never get married because I was doing too much.
You know, first of all, I have to say that I saw my aunt, Mrs. Unisa, she was nodding as you were talking. I saw her, she was nodding. I'm like, yeah. I was just looking at her. She was just nodding. I'm like, yes, I hear you, Ma. She's like, you know, you could have seen the approval on her face as you were talking. So thank you. You know, and this question I asked you because of my own personal experience. When I was 32 and I was not married, I came to Nigeria one time, and everyone, including my grandmother, dad, and everyone was praying, hey, may you find a husband. Hey, may you find a husband. And I remember saying to myself then that if I get back to America, if the TSA official asked me to marry him at all, I'm going to marry him. And eventually, that year I met somebody that I had met the year before that I did not like, and I was like, what is there not to like here? And I'm going to have to just get married. I'm 32. I need to just do this. When that marriage didn't work, and I was doing that internal work, I realized that the pressure that people were putting on me was not the issue. The issue was the pressure I was putting on myself. So I want you to talk a little bit about that internal pressure.
What you just said is like, so again, this is exactly the same direct opposite. I feel like I even almost linked the answers there, where now it is like from within me. So my parents are, again, I have extended family people that like to mind their business. So they're not even on my case, but obviously there's still all those subtle prayers here and there where you start seeing that. I know that it's not coming from a bad place, but now I'm even like, I get worried that I'll not be okay, that I'll not get married. And I'm like, please don't be worried. I want to tell, there was one time my dad called me on my 29th birthday and he was like, hey, so how far the something. I'm like, what are you talking? I knew what he was getting at. And I'm like, look me in the eye, eyeball to eyeball. Say it to my face. He's like, hey, after all, I'm your dad now. I have to be able to talk to you about this type of things. I'm like, don't worry. Let's not make this relationship awkward. I'll let you know when there's anything to know. So yes, I have those internal battles all the time. And I feel like I've already, like, the way that I just get up every day, I'm like, I'm good enough. And if there's somebody out there for me, they're going to be better than me. So it's not even the external pressures from outside that really put me down. It's from within me, where sometimes I get scared. I'm like, okay, I'm now, I started this thing now. Am I not too much? Am I not going to be intimidating somebody else? Especially because sometimes I'm very, very outspoken and I tend to like to stand my ground on certain issues that I know that, I have a good right to talk on. And I feel like that will cast some people away. And sometimes I try to dumb it down a little bit. But now I've again spoken to myself, and I have to do this periodically, where I'm like, Yetunde, be you. Like, until you become yourself, you're not going to get the right fit. Because if I try to dumb it down and then all of a sudden the person is liking somebody that they seem is like, that they seem is what they want, but it's not really who they are, it becomes a disaster in future. So the remedy for me is to just be myself, and whoever will like me like that will like me like that. And I've accepted it as what it is. I cannot change what is going on in my life in terms of, the growth pattern that I have.
And, whoever will like you like that, will like you like that. And, the first thing that I thought broke my first marriage, I thought is the other thing that is not even an issue in this marriage of mine. My first husband would say, she just talks too much. She can't keep quiet. She doesn't know there's a captain of a ship. Blah, 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 blah. Meanwhile, he was just a year older than me. Now, this one that is almost 11 years older than me, if I talk finish, he will say, be talking. He will not even answer. Then I'm the one that will now stop and say, okay, the person you are shouting is not even answering. Are you not looking like a mad person right now? So it's the same thing. And trying to be that other person so that you can be marriageable. My late dad, who you know very well, came to America once, and I was trying to buy a house, and I told him to come with me because he was an engineer. I said, come with me. And then everywhere we will go, if it's a condo at Nigerians, if it's a flat, he will say, this one is good. The plumbing is very good. The wiring is good. I'm thinking, as an engineer, he knows what he's saying. Then when we get to a townhouse, parent, you say, no, the wiring of this one is not good. The plumbing of this one is not good. And I was like, after a while, I saw a trend. I said, what's the problem? What's the problem? He said, if you buy a townhouse, you will not find a husband. Oh my God. I almost lost my mind. But they come with pressure, but if you don't manage the pressure from within, you're going to really lose it. So thank you for that. Maryam, I'm going to ask you now. I'm going to go back to Maryam now. And your road to finding love,
yes,
was not an easy one. you're married now, and you're married to somebody who does not feel the need to clip your wings. But it wasn't just like, no, you were 20, this man came, he supported your dreams, and that's it. Tell us briefly about the broken roads that led you here.
So first, I'd totally like to say, Miss Yetunde, thank you so much for that, because yes, you should just be in your element, and whoever's going to come comes, and if he doesn't like you, he goes away. And I think that's also what made my road difficult. First, I wanted to get married when I was 16, and it was a personal choice. And the reason is because I would always have like this talk with my grandma, and her and the firstborn, they're almost the same age, and she's like, oh, and they're like friends. So I did admire that, and so I wanted to get married. But what happened was, because I was into art at a very early age, at 13, and I was sure that was what I wanted to do. When the first guy came, and then he figured out that, okay, yes, my mom is an actress, which I told him about actually, and then I'm really into art, and this is what I wanted to do. We continued, but then later, after they brought the Kayanga, so that's like introduction and all, then the parents are like, no, your mom is an actress, and so we cannot let our son get married to you. And so they left. Then at the age of, that happened at 17, then at 18, another person came, and then it was the same story. And I started asking myself these questions. Okay, so is anything wrong with me? And then that was when really my mom pumped in that confidence so much in me, that she's like, it's because you're calling and their calling will never align. And so it is better that Allah takes them out of your life at an early, at the earliest time, than for you to go through even a more painful heartbreak. So I took that in good faith, actually. And then she said, one day you meet someone who is going to be proud of who you are, and that is what you need. And so never you shrink yourself to make someone like you. If they don't like you for what you are, then there is nothing that should make you change, because there's always going to be someone that would adore you in your fullest element whatsoever. So, and I took that to heart, and I'm just really grateful that she taught me grace in all aspects and self-love. And so, yes, then finally, I met him when I graduated. That's at the age of 20. And then he was like, oh my God, your mom is an actress. I want to marry you. So it was really, he was excited, and he treated me like royalty, like I was the best thing. And so I was really happy. And then I told her about him, and he just told me that, okay, so can I go and see your father? And that was just like 2 months after meeting him. And then I said, okay. And then he met my father, and then we were just together for like 4 months. And we only met about 6 times in 4 months. And then we got married. And now we're married for 4 years. Yes. And I'm super happy.
Wow. Oh my God. Oh my God. First of all, so many stereotypes were shattered in that response. The first one is, when you see a lady, especially a lady from Northern Nigeria, say they were married at 16, you say, hey, child marriage. You know how we don't understand. But she just said this was her choice because she saw something. She saw, a friendship that she wanted to build, the sort of friendship. Another one is, your story just buttresses what Yetunde said, which is the person that will like you, like the way you are, is coming. Instead of making room for the one that will say your mother needs to quit the stage so that they can be happy. What else would they want you to quit afterwards, So yeah, this is, oh my God, thank you so much for that response. Thank you. And if you have teenage daughters, children, I think this is a segment that I want you to watch with them afterwards. Even for the sons, this is something that they need to hear from people who are not as old as us, who are making sense. Okay, so let's go to you, Yetunde, about finding and using your voice. You were raised in a culture where women, to a large extent, are still supposed to just blend in, not be too loud. That's still how Nigeria is. However, you are now in a society where you must use your voice and create your own way. America, you don't talk, if you don't talk, you are dead. No, yeah. Have you had instances where you, a Black woman of African descent, have had to literally be firm in asserting your seat at the table? You know, that you're like, hey, I'm supposed to be here.
So I thought about this question, and there are two things for me. No matter what you try to do, no matter how good you want to become, and I think Maryam asserted to this as well, people will always talk. People will, sometimes you will still meet some silly people. People will still try to criticize you for being a woman and for doing great things. That one is there, and there's a way that you can deal with it. But there's also the part of you as yourself as a woman, where the reason that you have to affirm yourself all the time to other people is because of an internal thing within you that is called fear. So I found for myself that a lot of times when I've had to like really speak up for myself or really show myself in situations like that, because I'm afraid to really show myself as who I am. So I'll give you a practical example of this that happened to me. And again, it also goes back, everything is like intertwined with imposter syndrome. So I was new. I came from Nigeria as a teaching assistant. So it was like a scholarship arrangement where while I'm getting my PhD degree, I will be teaching undergraduate students and be getting paid for it. So I was a teaching assistant to 100 level biology students. And I know that this is a very atypical example, but I learned a huge lesson from this, and I'd just like to share it. So what really happened was that one day in class, I was really timid, right? I had an accent from Nigeria, and I'm dealing with these American cool kids. And yes, I'm new to teaching. I've not really taught before. So I was a little bit, afraid, that I couldn't do it on my own. And as I was teaching, there was this student that was being very, very unruly. He was bigger than me. He was a guy. He was being very unruly in class. And, he was now causing other students to be very rude to me in class as well. So because of that, I asked him to leave. I stood my ground and I said, hey, you know what? Leave the class. I can't stand your misbehavior anymore, blah, 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 in my Nigerian accent. And this guy looked me eyeball to eyeball and he was like, no, I'm not leaving the class, in front of all the other students. And I'm like, what do you mean you're not leaving the class? And he almost started being like a battle of words, right? And the students were looking, I was like, hey, what's going to happen here? So anyways, I told him to leave. He said he wasn't going to leave. I called the police. That's what I did. I called 911 and I said, I have a student in this class. He's being really unruly. I need him to leave right now so that the class can continue. And everybody was shocked. Eventually, he got pulled out of the class, and I learned from that. I knew that it was because I'm afraid. If I didn't give out that sense of being, you would not know. You would think that you're afraid. Nobody can tell, but people can tell. People can smell. I was telling someone that I work with mice. I vaccinate mice. And they can smell fear. And when they smell the fear, they will not let you handle them to give them an injection. How much more humans? They can tell micro expressions and little things that they can know that this girl, I can ride on her. So aside from the fact that people will always be unruly, you also have a role to play. I also have a role to play. And I tell this to myself all the time, in being assertive on my own ground and showing up, standing my own ground that, look, I earned a seat at this table. What are you talking to me about? So that for me has really, really helped me, is to deal with yourself internally. Be very assertive. Be proud of who you are. Be firm. If you are wearing a clothes and nobody likes it, wear it with pride and confidence. Be firm with who you are. And I feel like that will douse out the noise a little bit from people who think that you're a Black woman, you're an African, and you don't really deserve it to be here. It will put them in their places, the ones that they need that type of therapy. So that's what I would just say for that.
Therapy, well done. And as somebody who is also a college professor, I can say that I relate so well with that. There are some people, they look at you and then they say, oh, I don't have to respect her. I don't have to listen to her. And there was a day a student did this to me in class one day. And I said, there's only one teacher in this class. That would be me. You either shut up or you get out.
Get out.
And when my boss found this out, she was like, oh, my boss, a white woman, of course. She said, oh, there isn't only one teacher in the class. Everyone is there to teach everyone. I said, not in my class. I teach, they learn. And so now what I do every semester is the first class, I put in a slide to explain to them that there will be no disrespect. For some of you, this is the first time you have seen a Black woman wearing a head covering with an accent, telling you what to do, but you're going to get used to it. I quickly give you that something, because they can come and truly, sometimes you're afraid, you're really scared. And I'm so glad that you were able to stand your ground and call the police safe.
Yeah.
Yes, well done.
He even threatened me that he was going to call, he was reporting, and they were pulling him out. How tell the dean? I was like, tell the dean, go. Tell. But I was afraid though when you said you tell the dean, because I still stood my ground. I was like, go and tell the dean.
Oh my Lord. Oh my God. Thank you so much. So I'm going to ask Maryam now. I'm going to go ask her a question. And this is a question that I believe she already began to answer before. And it's something that I think is so important for us to have a conversation about. Speaking about being different and, shattering stereotypes. You are a Northern Nigerian woman and people have all kinds of stereotypes, from the fact that people think that you guys are married off when you were born, to men who are 50 years a senior, to people who think that all Northerners are Muslims. And, just all kinds of stereotypes. How do you deal with this as somebody who has to deal with all shades and manners of people?
I think at first, whenever I go to places and then they tell me, oh, you're from Northern Nigeria, are you Hausa? Oh, she must be Hausa. And I'm like, no, I'm from Borno. Then they say, oh, are you Kanuri? I'm like, no, I am Babu from Southern Borno. And I tell them with so much pride, and I want to put it on the map. So don't call me Kanuri. It hurts. It hurts. Don't call me Kanuri. I am Babar. So for me, it's like wherever I go, I like to introduce myself as that, so that it actually decreases that perception that anybody that is from Borno is Kanuri or anybody. And also I tell them proudly that I have a cousin, her name is Hassan Amena, and she's a Christian. And Southern Borno people, we're mixed. You cannot go to a family in Southern Borno and it's just Muslims. It's actually Muslims and Christians, and that's how the family in Southern Borno is. So I try to get that out because I think it is very important that you understand that it just makes us better. Christians, Muslims, pagans, whatever you are. If you're family, you're family, and we treat ourselves as such. So I feel like it's a very important message to get out there, and I also try to use my art and my presence on stage to introduce myself as that. So that there is that clarity.
Whew, that is so important, because I think the Nigeria of today has become so boxed in corners, and that's something that we're going to discuss a lot during the Men on Board segment. Everybody in their corner. People will look at you and you say you're from Borno, and then they will ask you about headsmen, about Fulani headsmen.
Boko Haram.
Yeah. And they would even ask me, just because I have a head covering. They would even ask me. And there was something that I learned from one of my colleagues who is white as snow. She has never been to Nigeria. One time she asked me what the meaning of my last name is. So I said, oh, it means that the oracle should let me hear good news. And then I began to explain how, oh, my ancestors were pagan, they were pagans. They used to worship the oracle. And she said, why are you making excuses about anything? Who told you that it's bad to worship the oracle? And I was like, I'm sorry.
Aww.
She said, no. She said, we came to your place and told you that this is the way to worship. We came, right? That no, why don't you find out for yourself what you want to worship and why, instead of making excuses based on what we told you. And honestly, I've never really I've never really thought about it like that. And we need to begin to have those conversations. Final question for both of you, and I'll start with you, Maryam. You know, what advice would you give a young woman or even a man who is on this call right now, who will watch this recording afterwards, who keeps hearing that the best way to move forward in life is to have a mentor and to have a sponsor, or any of those two? And as somebody who gets a lot of emails from people asking me to be their mentors and I cannot respond, how do you convince somebody to mentor you? What is the one thing that you tell them that you must do to convince a busy person to be your mentor or to be your sponsor?
You have to show the person your heart, and by showing the person your heart, you show them your heart in your work. So you can't tell me to be your mentor when you're not putting in the work and you're just waiting on me to sort of guide you completely. It really, mentorship to me doesn't exactly work that way. I want to see what you have to offer. There is a gift in you, and so don't wait for people. Some people just wait for you to bring it out, but it's already there. And as difficult as it may seem, you have to actually work on it. As I had my mom, but at the same time, my mom did not exactly, say, Maryam, this is how you should write your poem. This is it. You have to, and I think sometimes it's because we're looking for acceptance. We feel like what we're doing is not the right way, or how I'm writing poetry is not the right way. And I keep telling people that there is no right way to write poetry. I write poetry without rules. And if by any chance the metaphor is there or some oddly formed sentences are there, then fine. But I just speak my truth, and I speak my truth to power. And that is just what you should focus on. Because when you start to pay attention so much to the meter and being right and all of that, then you lose that touch of authenticity. So I feel that you should just put your heart out there. And sometimes the mentor can actually reach out to you.
Sometimes the mentor will reach out to you. That is so true. That is so true. There was a lady who invited me to connect with her on LinkedIn recently. She didn't want anything. She just invited me to connect with her. And I looked at her profile and I saw that she is an audit semi-senior in KPMG Nigeria. I used to work for Anderson, which is now KPMG. I saw that she does some work with children, non-profit work. I saw myself 19, 20 years ago in that profile. And not only did I accept her invitation, I wrote to her, I said, you remind me of who I was 20 years ago. And so with that, I know I've opened up the opportunity for her to ask me questions. So, thank you so much for that answer. I would end with you, Yetunde. Same question. Oh, I need to mute you. Yes.
Okay, so for me, I really like, so this question is not even about if mentorship is important or not, because we all know that mentorship is important. So the question is about how do you go about getting a mentor if you don't have one? I always tell the people that, I work close together with, 3 things. First of all, be able to separate what you want. There are some people that they think they want so for instance, if someone really likes Shanti Tifaj, they can be like, oh, I want her to be my mentor. But what do you mean you want her to be your mentor? You have to be able to separate, I like her as a person. I like the things that she does versus I want her to mentor me. Now, if you want her to mentor you, or if you want them to mentor you, what is it that you need from them? That takes me to my next point, is to ask a question. So I wouldn't just go to someone and be like, hey, Miss Ojinika, I really like you and all of that. I want you to be my mentor. I would be overwhelming her with that. What do you mean she should be your mentor? Do you know what that means? Ask a question, right? If it is her audacity, for instance, that you like, maybe you are a timid person naturally, and you know that you're a great person, you do a great job, but you haven't just been able to own your voice. Why not send that email rather than just say, be my mentor? Just be like, I have watched you for for a while now. And of all the things that you do, one thing that I really, really hope to learn from you is your audacity. Then ask a question so that they can answer you. That's a trick. Because if you don't be like, I like you and and you don't really ask, then you don't give them a prompt to respond to you. So ask a question. Would you mind sharing some tips with me about how you learned how to become audacious? Because I am struggling, with it in this particular area. So by the time you identify who, someone who could be your mentor, what is it specifically that you want from them that you know that if they tell you, you would be mentored by that? And the third thing I would say is for you to follow protocol. There are some people that you actually really need to get mentored by them, but you can't reach them. Like you can't just slide into their DMs and whatnot and send them an email and they will respond to you and agree to be your mentor. You have to follow their protocol. So for instance, like Auntie Tifaj here, she has this CEO program. Why don't you start from there? Join her inner circle members, get to hear what she's saying to other people, read her books, all of those things. Maybe one day. I've seen one time that they send an email one time where they're like, share your story. Maybe that's your opportunity to respond to her and be like, hey, I've been with the CEO. The fact that you're part of the CEO is already showing a sign that you really want to get mentored. Like what Maryam said, where you're putting your heart in it, that look, I like the things that you're doing, and I want you to be able to teach me to organize my life in a way that I'm producing similar results as you are right now. And, from there, by the time she sees that you're part of our program, you're part of our platform, and you have a question that's really bothering you, she will take you compared to someone who hasn't put in that much effort. So those are the 3 practical tips that I would say to you to do or follow if you want to get a mentor or a sponsor.
Thank you so much. What a way to wrap that up, because that is so, that is so true. Thank you, first of all, Maryam. Thank you, Yetunde. Thank you so much. You ladies surely give me hope. Surely give me hope. I hope, everyone who has listened to them has enjoyed this segment. I want to hear from you in the chat box. The chat box is too quiet. What are you taking away? What are you telling your teenage daughter? What are you doing? Tell us what you heard. Tell us the stereotypes that were shattered. Tell us what you took away from the segment that we just had. Again, while I'm waiting to hear from you, our next segment, if you looked at the agenda, was supposed to start 8 minutes ago, but the anchor of that segment is in Lagos traffic, because she just came from the court to cover the Baba Ijesha case. If you don't know the Baba Ijesha case, I don't know where you've been living on Instagram, but one child molestation case that she's covering on behalf of Channel Television, but she will be with us very shortly. So please, tell us what you learned. What are you taking back? What are you sharing with your daughter? Tola said, I'm definitely watching this with my 15-year-old. Yes, please. You can watch it with her. We're streaming live on YouTube right now. We're going to make sure that video is recorded to be assertive with what you want. While we are doing that, I want to make sure that we thank the people who, just showed up and showed out. Our silver sponsors, Adewale Ajayi, Dimeji Salaudin, Ayo Salami, Toyin Bagi, Latifa A, Edith U, because if I call their last names, they will kill me. And KPMG through their partners, Alliant Law Firm, and of course, Hale and Hearty Pharmacy in Lagos. We would also like to thank our bronze sponsors, Osai Ojigo, Tosio Koje, Yewande Daniel Ayoade, and our media partner, Women Radio, Nigeria's voice for women, Women Radio 91.7 FM. Thank you all so much. You guys make the stress of putting this together so worth it. We're going to take a, 1-2 minute break while Shola is getting on, but I want to hear from you in the chat box. Hey, I know what I'm going to do. I know what I'm going to do, you people. All right, I'm going to give you a quiz. How about that? A quiz. Let's see. I want to give you a quiz. If you people are not going to say, happy to see we are still raising assertive women, totally enjoy the session. Thank you, Omar. Thank you. Let's view this quiz. This quiz is meant for Saturday, but you guys can start preparing right now. Okay, I'm going to share my screen and you guys are going to tell me in the chat box what your answers are. Everyone must answer, everyone. Nnamdi Azikiwe was born in Onitsha, Anambra State in 1904, Zungeru, Niger State in 1904, in Accra, Ghana in 1904. Oh yeah, Let's hear you. Patrick, you cannot answer. We don't know whether you're Nnamdi Azikwe's cousin now. And I'm not even going to tell you whether you're right or you're wrong. Niger. Okay, I'm still saying, Ayodele says A in Onitsha. Let's see. Bumi says B. Nimon, yes, I don't want to lose what you said, which is what very correct. If you don't know your worth, people will not, get it for you. So Sakina, please help me keep an eye on the waiting room, because I see Lanre Akinbo is waiting there. All right, so somebody, hey, BC, she said, BC said, if Patrick says it is, whatever Patrick says is what she's going with. All right, well, in this case, Patrick is right. Olajimoke S21 says Onitsha, no. And one of the reasons why I like this question is because it's a testament to who we used to be. Now the people that we are in Nigeria now as Nigerians, the first thing we think is, oh, he must have been born in Onitsha in Anambra State. No, he wasn't. He was born in Zungeru, Niger State. The first president of Nigeria was who? The first president of Nigeria? I see people that were paying attention in social studies class. So the first person, Azikiwe, it was not Niger State too. Please fix your answers. Busola, it was Niger State at the time. B, C. Hey, God. So, Sir Abubakar Tafawa Balewa was the first prime minister, but the first president was Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe. The first president was Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe. Okay, let's go to this question. The next question. The first Nigerian woman to get an undergraduate degree from Oxford University was who? The first Nigerian woman, Lady Kofo. So like, Lady Kofo. She's Alele Williams. Beam. Ademola. This is my favorite part of every CEO. The way people just be calling their names. See, who is C, Lady Kofo? Flora Mwakpa. Tola used to be our winner of Africa 101. Current affairs, Higawa. Yes, it is a lot. The first Nigerian woman to get an undergraduate degree from Oxford University was Lady Kofo Ademola. Final question. The first female governor in Nigeria's history was who? The first female governor. Sola, would you put some respect to your name? Okay. Falabomi says A, no Nigerian state has ever been governed by a woman. No state says, everyone says no state except for who? Miss Lawyer Toyi Bashir says Virginia. Basira says no state has had one. C, Virginia. A, no state has had one. X, Zamfara state governor. Oh my Lord. Ngozi. Which Ngozi? Ngozi is never part of the options. Ojikutu, governor. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, the first female governor in Nigeria's history was Miss Virginia Etiaba. Yes, she was the governor of Anambra State for about a year or something like that. And one of the reasons why I like to bring this Africa 101 quiz is that sometimes we don't know how. Oh, she's also Ngozi. Okay, we don't know how powerful we are as women. We don't know how powerful we are as Africans because we don't know some of the things that people before us have done. We have no idea. And sometimes it's better for us to remind ourselves about this history that we have as people. Okay, so we're going to begin our chat with my only celebrity friend, the only person I know on New York television, and the only person I know that I can say is my friend that is on my phone that has won an Emmy before, Miss Ojinika. And while we're waiting for Shola to get in, I'm going to start the interview. This is the challenge of Nigeria. Okay. All right. So, Miss Ojinika, I'm going to ask you to unmute. Welcome to Shio.
Thank you.
And
by the way, after hearing Yetunde and Maryam, thank you for not putting me with them. Or thank you.
Maybe I told you.
Hey.
I told you. I told you that it was not an age thing.
Hey, no, but you kept saying us old people. You were rubbing it in to me that I'm the old one and they're young. It's fine. They're young and they're smarter than me. But thank you. I was hearing them talk. I was like, Jesus God, you are here for me. I would not have. I would have been like this. They'll not do in the group. This one is poet. This one is scientist, and I'm here. No, thank you. Sorry.
By the time people hear you today, they're going to know. First of all, I want to say that for those of you who are watching right now, who are going to be listening to Ojinika for the next 25 minutes, I want to say that this lady, she's down to earth. She's brilliant. She's funny. She's amazing. And one thing that I like about her is her humility and the fact that Enugu girl always shows up. Even sometimes when I'm watching her on TV, she's on morning television in New York City. I mean, I'm not saying New York State. I'm not saying Buffalo, Abi, Syracuse. I'm saying
they get us there, so you'll be there talking.
So I'm saying that New York City, the Big Apple, like you're in Sheraton in Times Square and you put on television on a Monday morning, you're going to see her there. But I'm very inspired by what you've achieved. But what is more inspiring to me is how approachable you are. I met Ojinika 2 years ago in Morocco. She was on stage at the conference, and this is that part of use your opportunity when you can. They finished the thing, and I took a picture with her. We talked, we did that, blah, blah, blah. Next thing, and I had her phone number. I don't even know how that happened. And since then, this has been my link to Hollywood. But let me go right into the questioning. You've won an Emmy. You're on morning TV. You have interviewed A-listers. I mean, seriously, you are living the life the teenager who came to the US from Enugu didn't even think was possible. Do you sometimes feel like you've reached the peak so soon and there's nowhere else to go?
No one ever reaches the peak. Oprah she's still going and going and going. So who am I to be peaking when Oprah is still on the ladder climbing up? No, I don't feel that. I feel like any day you have, any extra day you have on earth is another chance to do better. Like you reach your peak when you're gone, you're done now. So as long as you're alive, there's always a chance to do better and be better. So
I don't know if I would feel that way if I was on morning TV in New York, but I don't know. I'm not there. So but do you feel anxious about the next level?
No, not really, because okay, so I always share this. There's this quote by this guy, Wayne Dyer. I listen to his books, because I read a lot of, no, I don't know if it's considered self-help, I guess, but I read a lot of those books because I feel like, sometimes you get your inspiration from movies or from church or from wherever, but sometimes there's certain people that are sent on this earth to, kind of paint the picture a different way, right? So there was this thing, he quoted from this book, A Course in Miracles. It says, if you knew who walked beside you on this path that you have chosen, you never have fear or doubt or anything again. So if you knew who walks beside you on this path you have chosen. So technically, I always know that there's someone guiding me. I wasn't born in the US. I told you this before the other I wasn't born in the US. I didn't want to be on television. I wanted to be like a print journalist. And here we are. But something, I look back now and I see, oh my God, everything was planned. The bad things that happened, the good things that happened, the bad things happen so the good things can happen. So the more bad things can happen so I can learn lessons here and there, and then everything, it was already plotted. I was like, part 1, this happens. And then chapter 2, this happens, chapter 3. So I understood an early phase in my career, that everything happens for a reason. So I never stress about anything. I just go with the flow because I understand that there's someone that's making the moves, not me. I just have to show up and be my best possible self and give my all, and everything else will fall into place.
That is profound, and of course I expected that. But can you share maybe a little bit of what a possible next level could be that scares you?
I don't know if scared is the word, because what is faith if you're afraid? You know what I mean? What is the point? You know, like I said, like I know who walks, like that quote says, I know who walks beside me. If you knew who walked beside you, like I know who walks in front of me, behind me, who hovers above me, who's underneath me, lifting me up. I don't know what this thing is per se. I don't know if it's a man or a woman or a thing or a God or like whatever, but I know that there's something greater than I am that's there for me. So I'm really not afraid of any. Honestly, it's like weird. When I say I'm not afraid, I'm afraid of ghosts and stuff. If something jumps now, I go, oh, it will. Like a lot of times at work, I might be typing and I scream, and people are like, what, is my hair? So when I say I'm not afraid, I just want to like clarify which fear I'm talking about. If like I see like something fly by, I'll scream. If someone pops out of nowhere, I'll scream. But for that kind of stuff, I'm not. Yeah. So I just want to clarify that. That can, very soon you hear me go, ah! And then it'll be my hair, or it'll be like a fly, or it'll be like something. So I'm afraid of like ridiculous things like that. But for the future, or for my path, or for my life, or for my ambitions, no.
That's really deep. So let me now ask you.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, thank you, Ronke, for putting that in the chat box. I was going to actually make a note of it. What is faith if you are afraid? I mean, that spoke to me on many levels, many levels. Let me ask you, what is the biggest career mistake, blunder you've ever made? And how did you come back from it?
There are different levels to mistakes. Like sometimes I speak Igbo by accident on TV. Sometimes I'm always listening on. So those little things, you know what I mean? Or I pronounce things like differently. Because like if you're like, for me on TV, I feel like I'm in someone's house. You move, like if you go to Spain, they tell you what is agua. So if you go to the hotel, you're like, can I have agua? You speak how they speak. You're not gonna be like, can I have water? You know what I mean? And when I'm in Lagos, I'm like, can I have water? And here you're like, water. I'm about to bite my tongue trying to do super on TV. So like for stuff like that, sometimes I forget and I don't know how they pronounce certain words, but I try to pronounce it the way they do, because these people are letting me into their homes. I don't want to give them the work of, trying to figure out, do assignments to figure out what is this African child saying. But there's some words they know. And if I pronounce it the wrong way, I tell them, I'm sorry, I'm African. This is not how we pronounce it. Like the other day, I wanted to say prosperity in their way, but we say prosperity, right? So in my head, the African one was coming out. I was fighting the American one. So I was just like, it didn't even come out right. And I looked at the person that sat next to me. I was like, what's the word again? And they said it. And I was like, I'm sorry, I'm African. Because sometimes they pronounce things differently. So for those kinds of mistakes, I don't think it's a big deal because I'm human. And that's what makes me stand out, because I'm not trying to be the perfect person. I'm not trying to be like the lady, like I'm not trying to be the sexy one. I'm just myself. That I come like full jaga jaga, and I tell you, jaga jaga is what you're going to get. Lots of gallop and shaky things is gonna happen. If it happens, just hang tight. So I think with that, those little things are not mistakes, but I feel like I wish I had known. Like my mistake was not realizing. I would say not realizing like the power that leads me and the gift that has been given to me earlier on. Because when I was working at the station, I started as an intern, and I remember they hired me to be on their assignment desk. And I remember the boss, the news director, would walk in every day because I'm always loud and laughing and stuff like that. And she would always say, she would walk by and she would see me and she would have this smile on her face. I don't know what it was. I wasn't sure because she was the boss and she was always serious and stuff. And then my executive producer will come in and say to me, every time she leaves her office, she would say, Karen said she doesn't know what you're doing here. Karen said she doesn't know. And in my head, I thought, oh my God, this woman like thinks I don't deserve to be here. Maybe she thinks I'm always joking. I'm always laughing. I should be more serious because everyone's always like, it's a newsroom. So, but I'm always like, wah, 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 and I still get my job done. No? But then one day, every time she'll laugh, and then my other boss will be like, she always says she doesn't know what you're doing here. And I was like, what does she mean? I was like, does she think I'm not working hard enough? She's like, no. She thinks you're too good for us. She goes, why is she wasting her time here? Why is she here? And in my head, like the first time I was like, wait, what? And she goes like, yeah, she thinks you're wasting your time here. That why are we wasting your time? Why are you even here with us? And I was like, what? This woman thinks that of me? I didn't even, you know what I mean? I'm just like, what? okay. And then even me being on television, if they didn't push me to do it, I probably wouldn't. If they didn't see in me what I didn't see in myself, because I just always thought I want to be a writer. You know, in Nigeria, you're a great writer. I'll be a print journalist. I just thought I'll do newspaper because TV was just not even, I never even thought of it. But that's what I say about like that power that guides you, that already knows what you're meant to be. So every single day I am, that's why I say I'm like gratitude in action. Like that guy, Wendaya, that I quoted, always says he's love in action, that whatever he does, it's love in action. He shows love in every single action he do to anyone, to himself, to others. So for me, I felt like with me being lucky enough, because I feel like there's some people who have a gift that they're not even able to, I guess, live out. So with me being able to do it, I just said, you know, I'll have to be, my life or my work has to be gratitude and action. And a lot of times people say, oh my gosh, she works too much. That's all she cares about. No, it's just my way of saying thank you. You know, like I put my all in it. It's my way of saying thank you. Because it's one thing to be like, oh, God, I thank you for giving me this. No, I want to show you that I'm appreciative of this. I'm not taking it for granted. So like I would say, I don't know if I'll call it a mistake, but I think it's like not even realizing back then that I had this gift. Like now, even every day I have to remind myself and say, listen, just own it. It is what it is. Because like not to try to be anyone, because I love that I realize the gift and I'm comfortable in being myself. I'm being the messy, you know, like that whole like crazy person that I am, and I'm doing it like in my own way. So my mistake was not even realizing it at first, that it was there. I knew that something was guiding me, but I didn't even know, you know, something can guide, your navigation system can take you to the wrong location, right? I always said, oh, because I'm always speaking Igbo. Ah, gosh, you can take the girl out of the village, but you can't take the village out of the girl. So no, so like that. So for me, it not realizing soon enough that I have this, and for me to like, you know, let it engulf fully and let it like sip it and be all about it.
Wow, thank you. I need to remember that when school goes back in session in the fall. Whew. All right, so I know my Shola Shoyele is joining us shortly, but I would ask you this question while she's powering on her computer. And you've done a gazillion interviews with the most inspiring and the most amazing people, you know, so this may be tough to pick, but can you briefly recall any interview that completely changed your life?
See, I always tell them they're all special. I'll be like, you're my favorite. I'm like, you're my favorite. I was like, I hope this person's not seeing me tell this person this thing. But no, honestly, every single one is special in its own way. And every single day, it's like life-changing, because sometimes I'm sitting there, I'm like, wait, how am I even here? You know, even sometimes like I'm on TV, I'm like, wait, what? Like, what is happening? Or if I walk outside and someone goes like, Oji, can I have a picture? Can I have an autograph? I'm like, what? Do they know? I said, let me hurry up before they realize it's nobody. Say, who's this Jaguda crazy person that's here with us? No, but it's like every single one of them is life-changing. Like I said to one of my coworkers was saying the other day, they were like, Oji, it's so funny how you're the same when you're talking to an Oprah, or if you're talking to a Real Housewife, or if you're talking to like a Brooklyn store owner. It's the same energy. I said, because they're all the same to me. Like they're all like, the way I chat with the people who clean our office building is the same way I chat with my boss. It's the same way I chat with the people I'm on TV with. The same. And when she said that, it clicked, because one of the guys who works in the building said that to me, that someone was asking him about me and said, how is she, like, is she really that fun? He was like, oh, she's the same person. So, and that made me, I was like, oh my God, thank God. That's probably what has helped me, because I've always been like, I'm always myself. So it's not like I'm trying to act to be someone else. So which brings me to your question, which is like, which one is the most life-changing? And I pick the story. I think you know the story already. And I picked the story because that was the moment I realized that, like, you look for signs, like things happen to you for a reason. You know what I mean? Like, this is not the time of burning bush and Moses, when God comes to the burning bush to talk to you. Like, there are different things. He does it through people, through like different incidents and stuff. So there was a time, like I used to, they would use me on TV like a lot. They'd be like, oh, have OG do this interview, or this person's not available. They would always have me do, especially the feature, the ones, the fun ones, the fashion, the celebrity ones. I guess just because I'm like casual and laid back, they never had me do the serious interviews, which is fine. But I would keep doing these interviews, and this woman that was on TV, who I thought was we were close, and she was my mentor. And as soon as they started putting me on TV, she started acting weird. Sometimes she would speak to me, sometimes she would not. So someone called me one day and said, hey, we were having dinner, and she said, you need to stop putting OG on television. And they were like, oh, and she was like, yeah, because no one starts their TV career in New York. New York is the #1 market. People have to work to get to New York, and so people never do. So her starting in New York is giving people false hope. So the person was like, I'm telling you this, don't say, the person was like, you can't. I said, what am I going to say anything? And every single thing that's happened to me that's like that I would have seen as a setback, someone always gives me a heads up. There's always someone there to say, hey, listen, I heard this conversation, this is going to happen. So it kind of prepares you for it. So the person was like, so if they stop using you and asking you to do stuff, just know that's why. And I was like, okay. And in my head, something wanted to be upset and say, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm not. And then, because even when I was on TV, I was still doing the celebrity interviews because it would be on the weekends and I'll fly out, I'll do stuff in New York. So I'll do the celebrity interviews, but then I'll write it for one of the anchors. And then the full length one will go online. So something said, I was gonna be like, you know what, that I'm not gonna do the interviews, but something was like, girl, simmer down. Just, you know that everything's happening for a reason. There was a time someone told me to go for the job on air, and I was like, I'm not ready, because I knew I wasn't ready. So I was gonna have like this pride and be like, what? No, if you guys are gonna not use me. And I was like, first of all, no one has told you they're not gonna use you, number one. Number two, even if they don't, what's your own? It means it's not time yet. Look, you were born at UNTH in Enugu, UNTH in Enugu State, not NYU University in New York, UNTH in Enugu, and you're in New York. You're like, you didn't want to be on TV, and some way, somehow, you're in the #1 market. You're here for a reason. When the time is right, things will fall into place. So I just said, you know what? I'll keep doing this. I kept doing the interviews, writing it for someone else, put the full one online. And then I remember one day we had a new boss. And as me, usual, always yelling. Whenever she walks by, she's laughing because I'm yelling about something or making some kind of whatever craziness, like a market woman in the market square. I'm telling you, town crier, this one, like never, always so loud. I feel bad for the people I work with sometimes, but not really. That's their problem. So I remember her, she called me and she's like, what do we have to do to get you on the air? And I said, I'm on the air sometimes. I said, she's like, what? I said, I do the interviews, the celebrity interviews, but it goes online. And then I said, and I also fill in for traffic, me that doesn't know direction, to save my life. And I was like, but I do fill in for traffic on holidays, so there's nothing going on. So I said, but I fill in for traffic. She's like, what interviews do you do? And I said, I do the celebrity interviews, and then I write it for the anchor. And she was like, yeah, from now on, I want to see you on the air doing those interviews. So when you do them, you're the one that fronts it. I was like, okay. So when she tells me this, the first interview after that was Denzel Washington and Mark Wahlberg. The next one after that was Jennifer Aniston and Jason Sudeikis. And the third one was the Oprah interview for The Butler with David Oyelowo and, Lee Daniels and Cuba Gooding Jr. and Forrest Whitaker. And I remember sitting outside of Oprah's door, and I sat there and I went like, thank you. That's all I did. I looked up and I said, thank you. And I was like, I get it. I said, I get the lesson here is that I think he or she or it was trying to try me and see how is this girl going to react if we make her feel like, I'm like, who am I? You know what I mean? Like whatever I have, whatever I am is not because of me. It's just because it was given to me. It's about how I make use of those things that were given to me. So my whole thing is like the whole like, what? Why would they not do? Like, I know when the time is right. Like some people will tell me, why aren't you this? Even with the marriage thing, even with the baby thing, why aren't you this? You're not married, you're not this. I'm not rushing anything. It's already planned out. And I said to someone recently, I said, and it's okay if maybe my blessing is not to be, like CBM sees that a blessing, it's not my journey to be married or to have kids. I'm fine. That's what gratitude is. Content with what's been given to me. I'm not gonna force anything. Do you know what I mean? So gratitude is being content. And when you're grateful, you're happy because all that you have is enough. It might not be enough to people out on the outside for reasons, I don't know, because maybe there's something missing in their lives and they're trying to use your life to make up for their own wahala. But for me, so that those 3 interviews that happened back to back to back, it was more like a life lesson, not like a life change. It was more like boom, like other things have happened, but that one was just like, because I could have missed out on that opportunity had I been like, I'm not doing this. And the whole time, they weren't using me. I was like, I'll just keep practicing, getting ready. So I would go and do it. I was like, that was me. So by the time I met them, I already had my flow. I already knew what I was comfortable with. I already knew how to go. I was still working on talking really fast, because this is me talking slow, by the way, because I'm like, but back then I was like, but then like it had already been, I knew the process. I knew how, so it wasn't like, oh, this girl came in and, oh, she doesn't know what she's doing. So I still don't know what I'm doing, because every day you learn, but that event that led to those three, and then was like a major life lesson for me.
So before I ask you the final question, add Shola Soyele to the spotlight. Not because she's going to join me in the men's segment, which is starting in 3 minutes.
Okay.
But I wanted to see her face, because this is my other claim to fame. You're my claim to fame in New York. This is my claim to fame.
Mute how, so we can hear her laughing and smiling, because
she's my claim to fame in Nigeria, Channels Television. So, all of you people, Shola Soyele is my aburo, like bona fide. So when you hear Shola Soyele, Channels Television, like, you know that I know her.
I'll say I know her too now.
I'm your cousin
already. So this thing you're speaking
your cousin
about, she's my uncle too. So
okay,
be there.
but she's going to join me. She's going to kick off the men's segment with me in a bit. But so I'm going to finish with you, Ojinika. And my final question is going to be, you will not get to the stage where you are right now without mentors, without sponsors, you know. And as somebody who is not averse to helping people, while I don't think that I'm, at your level yet, but people always send me email. Can you be my sponsor? Can you be my mentor? Can you do this? Can you do that? And it gets really overwhelming, because we only have 24 hours in a week. What is it? What is it that sets that one email apart from the other thousands that you get, that you say yes to that person?
Me, they're still looking for mentor. You want me to get a mentor? No,
yes.
No one wants me to be their mentor. I'm telling you, me, I'm still looking. You're here telling me what am I looking? No, I'm looking for someone to come and pick me. So they should come and pick me first. After I get mentored, then I can be able to mentor them. But I think it's just, I don't know. Like I love what Yetunde said about you asking a question and finding your way. If it's really what you want, then then it'll happen. Because some people will usually like send me a message like, oh, what I want to do what you do. Why? Because I want to be on TV. Or like, I want to be famous. I was like, me, am I famous? You don't even know, because they see the whole, like, you think it's like, oh, all glamorous. Because sometimes I'm on the red carpet on the ground, like for hours, eating plantain chips and whatever, because we're waiting for hours and hours. No joke, because I'm always carrying plantain chips and groundnuts in my bag, even kuli sometimes. But like, they don't get that it's not that glamorous. So if you want to do it for the glam, not everyone gets the glam. You know what I mean? So I would say anyone that's looking for me to be their mentor, help me find a mentor first. And after they've mentored me, then I can mentor you. I don't know. I don't know. I'm looking for a mentor. Shola, do you want to be my mentor?
Yeah, Shola already has too many people that want to be her, that want her to be their mentor.
She is my mentor.
Someone is your mentor.
You are my mentor too.
Exactly.
I've been stalking you online, and there's a lot to learn from you.
Pico.
Ha! This one is you. No, that's according to what Tokwe said. I should be learning from you.
No, it is. I'm so glad. First of all, thank you, Ojinika, for always being a text away from a yes. Thank you for always bringing your light everywhere. I'm really honored that you accepted my own request that you should be my mentor. Thank you. I can always tell you that I know you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for being here. And we were supposed to have a break, but we will not. So if you can stand up from your desk and shake your body and all of that, we're going to jump right into the Men on Board segment. And so I'm going to bring there are 4 men who are ready for the hot seat here. Yes, thank you, Maryam. Thank you. Please show OG some love in the chat box, because man, it's not easy to be at the level where she is, even though she's always saying she's not. But it's not easy to be at that level and still just be able to break it down and relate with all of us at on the ground floor. So thank you so much. So I have 4 amazing men here, and they're going to first have 15 minutes solo interview. The first solo interview is going to be with my friend Lanre Akinbo, and Lanre Akinbo is going to be interviewed by Shola Shoyele. If you guys don't know Shola Shoyele, I don't know whether you don't have channel television, but go and look. That's all I can say. And, you know, I want to first of all thank her for always being, you know, right beside me with she, or whether we're online or we're in person, she's always, you know, right here. So let me bring Lanre Akinbo up. And let's see, add to spotlight. Girl, ask to unmute. This is like, I'm ready to hear what Lanre has to say today, Shani. I'm just ready. Lanre, oh yeah, unmute. Ask to unmute. Lanre, can you, wait, ask to unmute. I hope you are seeing us loud and clear. Are you seeing us clearly?
Hello, Tokwe.
Yes.
Yes, I can.
Okay. All right. Fantastic. Ooh. I hope we don't have any connection issues. Oh, Chai, this will not be fair, because the questions I have for you are hot. Really hot. Lanre, can you say something?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now. We can hear you now.
Okay.
Fantastic. So I'm going to remove myself from the spotlight. But before these men begin to take their turn, and I want to first of all just recognize all of the men who are here today, who are taking this hot seat. My friend Patrick Okigbo is here. My brother-in-law, yes, Dr. Amina's husband, Dr. Mustapha Jibril, the Honorable Commissioner for Investments, Commerce in Niger State, is also here. And one of my mentors, Imam Nojeem Jimoh, is also here. So Lanre is the first person that is going on the slaughter chaotic thing. And Shola will do the honors of asking him the questions. Shola, take it away.
Thank you very much, Dr. Hello, Lanre. Hello, Lanre. Can you hear me?
Hi, Shola. Can you hear me? Yes, okay, loud and clear.
Yes, I'm going to just dive right in because the questions I can see are very hot. So if, well, we were to get a penny for every time that we had someone tell a woman to stay with a wife beater or a narcissist because the Bible does not support divorce, we will be very rich. But the amount of emotional and physical abuse that women are supposed to endure and go to the war room for just because they profess the Christian faith is unbelievable. So in your opinion, what recourse does a woman who finds herself in a union that's draining life out of her, what recourse does she really have? You understand the question, right?
Okay, thank you. Yes. Thank you for having me. Thank you, Dr. and everyone here. Good evening, good morning, ladies, and the few gentlemen that are here. It's my pleasure to be here. Yes, Shola, basically we're saying, you mentioned the Christian faith, and then the fact that, the recourse that a woman who finds herself in an abusive relationship, basically one that is draining life out of her. So first is those two things are not consistent, right? But the fact is that they happen. Sometimes you are actually dealing with a sociopath or someone who's just not emotionally or mentally stable, right? For me, where there is physical abuse, there's a clear and present danger to the life of the woman, in this case. And so for me, the immediate recourse is it's physical separation, because eventually, you could actually lose your life, because you mentioned the Christian faith, what we learn from the Bible is that, Jesus Christ came and died for everyone. So there's really no need for you to die for anyone else, really. And so that would be one immediate recourse. In some cases, there could be, therapy. You could actually look for help, whether, from your religious leaders or from, professional counselors and so on. But where there is a clear and present danger to life or mental well-being, on an ongoing basis, immediately, I think there should be physical separation. Where it is not physical and it's persistent emotional abuse, then the lady should insist that such a man gets professional help, because really, you could also actually, I've also heard that, in some cases, some of the emotional abuse could actually be worse than, or equally as bad as physical abuse. And so my view would be that the lady should actually insist on the man getting help. And if he fails to do so, actually also it's a basis for separation for a while until there can be healing and restoration.
Thank you, Larry. I don't know, I'm having connectivity issues here, so I didn't really hear a lot of the things you said, but I hope the house got it. The next question is that, like you said, the Bible is clearly not in support of polygyny. So unless a Christian man wants to enforce his traditional African rights, it doesn't have any leg to stand on when he takes another wife. But what we see is men leading double lives, either keeping steady or serial mistresses, or another set of families shows up at a man's funeral. This is a familiar story. It always boils down to some men are not built to be monogamous. We don't know whether that's true. Please help us understand the real. Is it true that a man cannot be with one woman forever? And is that why men cheat?
Hello, Shola, can you hear me now? Is it better?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Well, it's not true. It's not true that a man cannot be with one woman forever. Examples actually abound. There are several men who are in very healthy, very loving relationships with their wives of many years. They've been happy, they remain happy, and so it's actually not true. I think for me, it's about self-control and emotional maturity. For me, that's really what is at the heart of everything. Really, anyone is capable of doing anything. Really, it's about how you've disciplined your mind, disciplined yourself, disciplined your body. To just resist certain things. It's not everything that you have an urge for that you would give expression to. Now, having said that, there are a few other reasons, why men cheat. For some people, it's really just looking for a way out of a relationship. They're maybe too afraid to have difficult conversations about how they feel and whatnot, and they feel, maybe you cheat, or sometimes the cost of a breakup it's not something they're willing to bear. A man is married, with kids, and he's, I don't want somebody else to take care of my children, and therefore he stays in there, but then he's stepping out of the marriage all the time. Sometimes people are looking for some. Yes, again, these things are not consistent with Christian values, but these things happen, to people that profess, to be Christians. Some people are looking for connection, for some emotional connection. Sometimes it's not really about physical intimacy. It may lead to physical intimacy ultimately, but sometimes there's low self-esteem, there's insecurity, there's a feeling of being unseen or disconnected from your wife or your partner, and people therefore look out for some kind of validation elsewhere. Sometimes it could start with just friendship with another woman who they feel is giving them attention and so on. Sometimes you could be dealing with a sociopath or a narcissist who just doesn't care about the feelings of his wife or any other person for that matter. And they want what they want, regardless of whose emotions are, involved, and they will just go out, and cheat. Sometimes it's because of addiction, it could be drugs, it could be pornography, which abounds in the age we live in. And so these things affect your mind, affect your thoughts, and eventually you give expressions to them in one way or the other. Again, it's about emotional maturity, judgment, willpower, self-control. I think also there's also how men are socialized. Sometimes society almost permits it, like, oh, well, all men will cheat anyway. Sometimes they're enabled even by close friends and associates,
So that's to them.
Yes, so sometimes they're enabled. They say, oh, well, you're a man, I mean, I can imagine, I remember how, I guess, fascinated I was. Many years ago, I was single, and I had a lady friend who said, oh, well, she expects that at a certain point in his life, she was unmarried at the time, that she expected that her husband would cheat because, you are a successful young man, you are attractive to women, and therefore she said she's made that provision in her mind already. So for me, it's a way of socializing men to just think that it's okay. But it is not, and these are part of the emotional maturity issues we're talking about.
Okay, let's talk about secrets. The amount of men that die with secret financial assets is amazing, astounding. It starts with a man hiding his payslip, running secret bank accounts, and excluding his wife from being listed on his assets as a co-owner. Then, of course, death comes, the assets die with him, and the tides turn. Why on earth, help us understand it, why on earth do men find it easy to share their physical nakedness with their spouses, yet they can't seem to share their financial nakedness? We may put it like that.
Okay. I think there's a certain level of, again, it's about how men have been socialized, but I think, to each his own, but I think there is a certain level of vulnerability you have to permit. You have to basically expose yourself to, particularly as a man. Again, it's part of how, sometimes, they say we are products of our environment. So men have been socialized in a certain way. Sometimes they are basically reflecting what they've seen from their own fathers and their fathers before them and so on. But we have to know that certain cultures, certain ways of life are not healthy. Personally, I made a choice, even way before I met my wife now, that I was going to be vulnerable. In certain areas, particularly finances. So today we don't have, my wife knows everything. I mean, she's a signatory to, I run a business, so she's a signatory to all the company's accounts. She just, she knows everything. She knows all the passwords, all the pins and so on. And so it's, I think there needs to be a certain level of vulnerability. We need to understand, we need to unlearn certain things we've learned, certain cultures, certain things that we learned, maybe even from our fathers and from other male models in our lives, or male influences in our lives. We need to understand that these things are not healthy. I mean, imagine a situation where literally in the first generation, a man passes away and, his family begins to suffer just because he has not put his affairs in order. His wife doesn't know anything about his finances, doesn't know even his pension account, doesn't know how much, is in there. And so for me, I think we need to unlearn certain things and learn better ways of carrying on. Hello?
Thank you, Lanre. Yes, thank you. Okay, so the final question is this. You notice that a young mentee of yours is struggling, maybe because his wife is earning more or rising faster than him in her career. How would you advise him to manage the situation and keep his ego in check?
Okay. I think, again, it's down to this vulnerability that I talked about earlier. If you think about it, that it's not, again, depending on how the household is set up. If you think about it, that it's not harmony, it's for the family, it's for you both, presumably you also have that perspective about your own money. Maybe he will not feel so sensitive about it. And also I would say to him not to underestimate his own contribution. He's an important member of the family. I know that a man really finds a lot of fulfillment in his ability to provide and his ability to be seen as the provider in the family. But the truth also is that examples abound also of situations where, the wife earns more than the husband. And so I will find such examples, whether it's Oprah Winfrey or, examples closer home. It might not even be money, it might just be fame. There are examples where, for example, where you have instances where, a woman is probably more famous or more popular, in one shape or form than her husband. And if you find those to be worthy examples to emulate, I will share those kind of examples. I think also, I'll say to that person, to be fair, don't make your wife feel guilty for earning more or for rising faster. At the end of the day, it's to your own glory also, so the glory of the family is to the, it's as long as you don't look at it as a competition, because the truth is, I wish I could, I shouldn't say I wish the truth is, that situation may never change. She could actually continue to rise, become richer, become more famous than you are. And so the question is, how do you as a man deal with that? You have to basically own it, understand that that is how things are, and understand that it's, you know, it's for the greater good of the family, you know. So again, I said I would find examples to say, look, these things are not strange. Don't make her feel guilty for anymore. Don't make her aspire for less. Don't make her, you know, cut short her career because of your ego. It's for the greater good of the family, you know. And if need be, discuss how you feel. If you really feel that maybe you feel, you know, she's rubbing it in or making you feel inferior or whatnot, or your ego is bruised, I think you should be vulnerable enough to discuss this with your wife, and you know, both of you can come to an agreement on how things should work.
So first of all, Lanre, thank you. Your usual measured tone, you know, of responding. I hope that at least for that last question, you will be talking to men more, because a lot of women, whether on this call or outside, are suffering in terms of men just having this over bloated sense of self and these egos that are destroying things. One thing that you said that I want to hold on to is to your glory if your wife is shining, you know. So maybe we need to have a he-he-o so that men can hear this from men like you. Please don't go away. I'm going to interview some of our other brothers now, and then we would all come back to have our final 2 questions. But Shola, thank you so much for handling this. Thank you very much, Shola. Okay. All right, so I'm going to add Imam Jimoh to the spotlight. And you know, the way Ojinika said something which honestly just played out right now. I think it was better that Shola, who is a Christian, asked some of these questions that, you know, I asked Lanre, because, you know, some of those questions, even though I wrote them, would have been strange. So I'm going to welcome Imam and then ask him his own questions. You know, the good thing about Shia is that I get to ask my elders these big questions without feeling like I'm disrespecting them. So, assalamu alaikum, sir.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Okay, so I'm going to be, since I'm a Muslim, I can ask you these questions. The first question, the place I want to first of all start is the way, if I hear it one more time, that one Muslim scholar or one Muslim imam or somebody says, Islam is a religion that came and gave women their rights, I might just hit somebody's head. Because I don't know more violators of women's rights than Muslim men, particularly Nigerian Muslim men. The ones who, you know, profess all kinds of outward shows of faith. The kind of things they do to their women drives me crazy. One of the places I want to start with you, sir, is, does Islam really allow a man to beat his wife?
Okay, thank you very much, Tokwe, and I thank your team as well for the privilege of being part of this show. And let me mention that my claim to fame is actually knowing Tokwe Fajinbese Baluku. Now, I think the question has 2 parts. Number 1 is what rights women have got in Islam, and then number 2 about men beating women in Islam. You mentioned Nigerian men especially. I'm sure if you were to speak to your Ghanaian friends, they would tell you Ghanaian Muslim men are the worst. You speak to the Sudanese friends, they will tell you the same. So I'm not sure Nigerian Muslim men are especially as bad as you may have thought. However, let me start on the note of the rights of women in Islam. Women have so many rights that even Muslims are not aware of, even Muslim women are not aware of. Let me start on a very basic level. In Islam, women, married Muslim women, are required to keep their surname. required, not admonished, right? And I'm sure the audience gets the difference between being required and being admonished. Of course, we find many of our wives willingly and joyfully taking our names, right? Which is more a product of culture and the Western influence on us. But Islamically, it is the right of a woman to keep her surname. Number two, no marriage can take place in Islam except that the lady to be married away gives her consent. For a young, perhaps virgin lady, the consent of her father or guardian is equally required, but even where the father gives his consent and the young lady says, no, I'm not marrying, or I'm not ready to marry this person, that marriage cannot go ahead. Number three, right? A lot of non-Muslims do not know this. Muslim women are actually have the right to request a divorce, that they want their marriage to end. Ideally, it is a man who divorces a woman, but where a lady wishes to leave a marriage and the man wouldn't let him go, the lady Islamically has the right to request a divorce, and the divorce must be given. Muslim women have the right to own property, and whatever belongs to them belongs to her alone, whereas what belongs to the husband and belongs to her as well. Let me rest it on that note as far as the rights of women in Islam is concerned. On the issue of men beating their wives, I'm sure you'll find Christian women saying Christian men beat wives as much as Muslim women do. Well, maybe I am wrong. I wouldn't know. But what we know and what Allah says, He says, وَخُلِقَ الْإِنسَانُ ضَعِيفًا. We have created men, i.e. mankind, to be weak. What we find are manifestations of these weaknesses with which the Creator has created all of us, right? Now, the Prophet came to practicalize the religion for us, right? Every aspect of his life was recorded. There is no record of him ever beating a woman. Additionally, one of the companions, the people around the Prophet, he came to ask him a question, say, what are the rights which the men, our women rather, what are the rights which they have over us? The Prophet gave examples, and then he said, Wala tuqabbi, and you must not hit her, you must not strike her, especially on the face. That was a direct statement of the Prophet, sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Finally, on this note, a lady came to the Prophet and she mentioned men that were interested in her and talking to her with a view to marriage. The Prophet said, do not marry Mr. A because he beats women. Marry Mr. B, although he does not have much, but he does look after women. So this was the Prophet actively discouraging a lady from marrying a man who has a reputation for beating women. I hope those answer the questions.
You did, sir, and I'm hoping that in the next couple of Fridays, you can help us remind the men who say that they have a right to beat a woman with a toothbrush or with a toothpaste or with their hand not more than 90-degree angle and some other foolishness that people, say around your place. But I want to go to one elephant in the room. That elephant is polygyny. We already asked the Christian man, and we already know that the Bible does not support polygyny, but we know that the Quran Allah does not forbid polygamy. One of the things that you said, sir, you said one of the rights of a woman is that a man can, that she owns her assets, Now, there was a story that I found on Facebook in one sister's group that, oh my God, drove me completely bonkers. The first part of that story was this man decided to go and marry a second wife because his current wife, puts too much pepper in the food. So he decided to marry the second wife. Now, he wants the first and the second wives to be friends. As a matter of fact, the lady asked for help in the sisters group because she said he has insisted that he's bringing his new wife to her house. They live in separate houses tomorrow, and she must cook for her and she must host her. Is that a right that he has?
Wives do not have to be friends, Islamically speaking.
Hey.
Let alone being close friends. And the women, each of them retains that prerogative to be who they wish to be, right? Of course, in an ideal situation, they would be friends because they are members of the same family. And being friends would have the potentials of bringing their children together for them to be friends as well. However, in terms of rights, God has not given a man the right to insist that your wives must be close friends, must be friends, let alone being close friends. Having said that, right, if one of the wives makes an effort to be friends or friendly to the other wife, right, it will count on a scale of good deeds and it will count as charity for her. If she makes that effort to be a friend to the other wife or other co-wives, it would count as charity for her. If she makes an effort to do this, right, now it would, what's the word that I'm looking for? If she strives to do this because she believes it will make her husband happy, then it will be recorded in the books of righteousness for her. However, she retains the right to be who she is, living her life in her space, maintaining her space, especially if she thinks that being in my little corner and my own space works better for me. So no man has the right to say, I'm bringing her tomorrow, you must cook for her, and you must be a friend to her. Indeed, he can try to persuade the one to whom the other is being brought, but persuasion is the best you can do. If she says, no, I'm not ready to meet her, it is within her rights. Although Islamically, it is discouraged, very highly discouraged, for a lady to disobey her husband for as long as the husband is not being irrational in his request.
So this particular thing in the group on Facebook where this thing was posted, and some people, if you're Muslim, you probably are in that group. It's a very huge Nigerian Muslim women's group. And so people were advising her, she should be friendly, she should cook, she should host the person. So I wrote a comment and that comment just blew up the entire place. And I said, stop treating her like she's not a human being with emotions. When she's ready, if she's ready to be friends with the person, it's her own time. But this thing of you just pushing and pushing and pushing, and her getting this kind of pushback from women is a problem. People wrote comments and said, this Tokwe Fajingbeshi, are you even a Muslim at all? Are you a Muslim? What kind of view is this? Blah, 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 blah. So I'm very happy that you explained that very deeply. Still on the issue
emotion takes the better of us when it comes to religion, when it comes to tribe or ethnicity. Emotion takes the better of us, and you'll find even the most educated people making the stupidest, I don't know if there's a word like stupidest, making the most stupid of comments when it comes to religion and when it comes to ethnicity.
That is so true, sir. The final question I'm going to ask you is on polygamy as well, because you kind of answered my question about the rights of the woman in terms of her money. So the Quran is clear that a man can marry more than one wife. It's clear. But one of the things I find very frustrating is Muslim men reducing Islam to a single story, the single story of polygamy. Every time you just hear people talking about how there are 1 million women and 500,000 men. So, you know, we forget about salat, we forget about charity, we forget about being kind to our neighbors. And everything you hear most Muslim men talk about is just polygamy. But people also forget that part of what the Quran says about polygamy is to do justice and to deal equitably among these wives that you marry. What does equity and justice look like in 2021, sir?
In 2021, interesting. Let me mention that the laws of Allah apply for all times, right? That law on polygyny, on polygamy, would apply in 3021, 4021, and 5021, as it applied 1,400 years ago. Now, on the issue of justice and then equity, now, we run into problems when we interpret justice and equity in literal terms. In literal terms. A man can have a 65-year-old wife, and the same man can have a second wife who is 25 years old. Surely, the need of a 25-year-old is going to be different from the need of a 65-year-old, right? So if you are talking in terms of how many nights or how many days he spends with this and he spends with that, and you expect that he would spend exactly the number of days or nights with a 65-year-old and a 25-year-old, then that will be you interpreting justice and equity in literal terms, and you will run into problems. Even a lady, 65 years old, probably doesn't want that man as often as the man wants her. She wants him to go. Leave me alone. I've had enough of this. Whereas the 25-year-old wants him, perhaps most likely more often than he would want to come to her. So if he manages to make the 25-year-old happy and he manages to make the 65-year-old happy, this is justice and this is equity. Now, let's apply this to our children, right? I imagine we are equally required to be just and equitable to our children. Imagine a man with 4 children. How can you, in literal terms, be just and equitable? I.e., to do exactly what you do for one child for all 4 children. No, equity and sorry, the comments on the box distracted me, right? Being just and equity, right, will be to give to each child what makes the child happy and contributes to the progress of that child. So to the extent that we cannot, in literal terms, be just and equitable to our children, is the way in which we cannot be literally just and equitable to our wives. Take, for instance, a wife has 2, 3, 4 children, and another wife is still struggling to have 1 child. Surely the emotional needs, things being equal, of that one who is looking for a first child will be different from the one who already has 3 or 4 children. Again, she would need the man, things being equal, ceteris paribus, as they say in economics, than she would need the man. To make her happy and to make her happy is the concept of justice and equity. And finally, even in the Quran, Allah says that even if you try, you would not be able to achieve this justice and equity, meaning that you have to put in your best to make them all happy.
Thank you so much, sir. First of all, I want to hope that every time I know you're an Imam, sir, every time you are doing sermon, that you will be helping us to talk to the men. Me, as far as I'm concerned, I say a man who decides to marry another wife, that's his own business. It's not my own business. And it's between him and Allah. I don't have time for somebody to come and be giving me hypertension. But you know, our people in trying to enjoy their privileges, they infringe on the rights of women. And I'm hoping that in our masjids, in our mosques, that we can talk about this striving for justice and equity and, you know, not infringing on women's rights. But thank you, sir. Please don't go away. I'm going to, you know, bring you back to join us in a heartbeat. I'm going to add my friend, the Honorable Commissioner from Niger State, to this hot seat. And I'm going to ask him to unmute because I have some hot questions for you, sir. Good evening or good afternoon.
Yeah, good evening. Thank you very much. It's nice to be here with you.
Thank you. Can I just say that my friend, Dr. Amina, was at the very first CEO that we had in Nigeria. She was one of the hot seat guests, and she was amazing. And, you know, so I am so excited to host you here today.
I'm excited to be here too.
All right, fantastic. So, you know, let me start from today. What I tried to do was to bring people from, you know, major parts of Nigeria. So you're the one that is sitting on the hot seat for the Northern Nigerian man today, sir. There was a time, yes, in the North that the North produced strong women. Queen Amina, Hajia, Gambo, Sawaba, all of these people that, you know, when you heard about, you know, Northern Nigerian women, they were strong women. All of a sudden, the conversations that we have about the girl child, about the woman in the Northern Nigeria is about, there is something, child marriage, whether a senator can take a fourth wife that is 12 years old or not, or whether a man can stop his wife from using birth control. And you are married to a very progressive boss lady, as in boss lady, real boss. But people like her are becoming extinct in the conversations and in the demographics of Northern Nigeria. What is it going to take for us to switch these conversations, for us to have important conversations about the culture? What is the problem for real?
All right, thank you very much. This is a very tough question, but I'll say it, it's a pleasure for me to be here today. And to go straight to answering your question, I would like to say that the narrative is not exactly as you have put it. I will say that we still have a lot of strong ladies in Nigeria, and like you have mentioned, my wife, for example. Yes, in the past we had Queen Amina, we had Gambo Sawaba, as you have mentioned, but even up to now in the present day, we have a lot of strong Northern women all over the various positions in the country, even outside the country. Currently now, if you look at, if you take, for example, the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, President Muhammadu Buhari, his wife, the First Lady of Nigeria, she's a very strong woman. She has gone to school, studied, she's a master's degree holder. I think she wrote a book just recently, And we have the wife of a lot of the governors of Northern Nigeria. The wife of my state governor, she's a medical doctor, a specialist, a consultant, Dr. Amina Bello. The wife of the governor of Kebbi State, she's also a medical doctor. The wife of the governor of Sokoto State, she's also a very strong person. And a lot of the wives of the governors in Northern Nigeria are strong. And if you look at even recently now, at the international level in the United Nations, we have the Deputy Secretary General of the United Nations, Hajia Amina Mohammed, is a lady from Northern Nigeria. And then, like you also said, my wife, who is a country director of an international organization in Nigeria, Pathfinder International. So I can say that there is a lot going on, a lot have changed currently in the country, and there are lots of ministers right now in this current cabinet. The Minister of FCT, the Minister of Humanitarian Affairs are all women of Northern extraction that are also making their own contribution to the society. Now, be it as it may, that does not mean that the situation of the girl child, as you have narrated, is still not a challenge in the northern part of the country. And there are lots of reasons why we are still having these challenges currently right now. You can look at the issue of I usually prefer to refer to it as the misinterpretation of the religion, just like the Imam have said, made a lot of clarifications about the Islamic religion and as it relates to women empowerment. The issue of education in the northern part of Nigeria, the tradition, the culture have all played a major role. And then there is the issue of fear. In the northern part of Nigeria, the north is a conservative place. And there is this general fear that when you allow women to go to school or for them to participate in work, they will be harassed. It will be difficult for you to maintain the ethics and morals that the North, being a very religious part of the country, would want to maintain. So this poses a lot of challenges. And when I talk about the misinterpretation of the religion, issues of marrying girls out early, people misinterpret it and not do it as it's supposed to be, done. What are the things that we can do to alleviate some of the challenges that we are facing? Basically, I would say education is number one, and what I refer to as enlightenment. I would like people who are listening to this to check on what they refer to as enlightenment by a philosopher referred to as Immanuel Kant, because people need to be enlightened. People need to be educated. Advocacy needs to be done. We need to advocate to our traditional leaders, to our religious leaders in the northern part of the country, and then also even the National Orientation Agency in the country needs to play a major role to try and make people understand the importance and the contribution that women can do to the society. Some people will say that you cannot clap your hand, you cannot clap with one hand. Half of the population of Nigeria, 50% of the population of Nigerian are women. And if they are not empowered, automatically it means that 50% of the population will not be participating in the growth and development of the country. So I will say that even for, I am a Muslim, there are lots of Christians also in northern part of Nigeria, but as a Muslim, people misinterpret it. People don't even realize that in the history of our religion, people do not understand the religion well to know that our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was married. His first wife, Nana Khadija, was a very strong woman. She was a merchant. She worked very well. She was very rich. She's a businesswoman. So women are encouraged to do business. A lot of people are not aware. There's a lot of ignorance. There's a lot of places that people are not well educated, both in the religion and even what they refer to as Western education, for them to realize this. One of the most popular wife of the Prophet, Nana Aisha, who was the daughter of his friend, she was also a scholar. She lectured. She taught the religion to a lot of people. Most of what we refer to as the hadith, the teachings of the ways of the Prophet that we make use of today, as we refer to as the Sunnah of the Prophet Muhammad, majority of them were taught by his wife to other scholars. Apart from that, she also went to war. She also led a war after the demise of Prophet Muhammad, but people do not even realize that. So there are a lot of roles that women can play. And then even in the religious book, we had a lady referred to as Bilqis. She was a queen. That means she was the leader of a country, of a nation. So we can even have women as leaders of our nation. So a lot has to do with information and educating the people, enlightening the people, value reorientation of how we think, and what I would refer to also as value clarification.
Thank you very much. Spoken like a politician. Thank you. So when people ask me, you two out there, I say, I have role models, Khadija, Aisha, wives of the Prophet that I'm looking up to. So which woman are you telling me to look up to? So, but what I'm hoping is that we can get a lot of this information out there to the communities, to fathers of young girls, so that they know that their children are not losing anything by being strong women. But I want to go to politics now, because you've been in politics for a while. Before you were commissioner for investment, you were commissioner for health. So let me ask you, if you look at Nigeria, look at Nigeria. Northern Nigeria has produced more heads of states, whether heads of state, whether commander-in-chief, whether president. Northern Nigeria has produced more than any other region, than Southeast, Southwest, whatever. But if you look at the indices, I mean, I've only been to one state in the north, which is Kaduna, and I went to a school and my heart just broke. If you look at the indices, whether it's education, whether it's maternal and infant mortality, whether it's infrastructure, economic development, business, health, anything you can think about, the North lags behind. And with the recent increase in kidnappings and abductions of school children, we're adding security to one of the issues where, you know, the North is struggling. I can't understand why the region has produced so many leaders, and yet, you know, there is no pushback, and the region is lagging behind in all of these indices. What would it take for development to happen?
All right, thank you very much. Yes, we have come to politics now. What I will say is that yes, there have been a lot of people of northern extraction that have held on to power in the country. But in order for us to look at how has this translated into growth and development in the country, one has to look at and understand various things. There are a lot of factors.
Oh, I hope we didn't lose you. Oh, I hope.
We under colonization.
Dr. Jibril, I can't hear
you. The colonial masters left. The empowered more.
So, Dr. Jibril, we can't hear you well, and this is a hot question that I need to have you know, answers to. We've lost him, but I'm going to bring him back because this one is a table. Somebody just texted me and told me that this is a table that I am shaking. Yes, this is a table that I came here to shake today. Dr. Jibril, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now.
All right, so I'm going to bring you back to, I'm going to pin you again, add spotlight. Yes, sir. So you please answer that question from the beginning, because this is a table that somebody told me that I'm shaking, and I want to shake this table.
Yes, yes, all right. I was taking from another angle, but like I said, there are many angles to look at this very critical and important question. First and foremost, I think one of the notions that people believe that holding on to power automatically translates to development of any region is something that we need to debunk, and we need to change. Like I was saying earlier on, is that based on the history from colonization, when power came into this country, the North was met with a specific structure. They had a political structure that was very, very strong. They had a system. They had the emirs and co, which was not similar to what we have in the other parts of the country. And when part of the colonization made it such that Western education, because the North was conservative, went more towards the other part of the country. Now, that is one aspect. Now, the second aspect is that for those who read history, there is a man who we refer to as Ibn Khaldun, Hassan Ibn Khaldun. He's referred to as the father of history and social science. He was the one that made history and social science to become a course. I don't know if you can still hear me.
Yes, we can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. Now, so this man wrote a book which he referred to, basically translated into English, as The Rise and Fall of Empires. Now, in his book, he says anyone or any community or any group of people who hold on to power for a very long time, that the people will come and go into what he refers to as sedentary life. They begin to develop themselves more towards the power. They gain patronage from the fact that they are holding power. They do not become very innovative. They don't have to do much in order for them to patronize the good that comes with holding power. So that has actually affected us. For example, for people to understand, it's just like when Nigerian as a country found oil. Oil gave us power, it gave us easy wealth, and every other source of revenue in the country went down. So in reality, when people keep clamoring for wanting their region or somebody of their extraction to hold on to power. It's a dangerous thing without people knowing. If you hold on to power, and if you hold on to that power for too long, it affects the psychology of your own of your people. So the vast land that we had, in the beginning, when at 1960, immediately after independence, the first 4 to 5 years before the first coup, like you rightly asked earlier on, Nnamdi Azikiwe was the president of the country, and during those times we had the rice, we had the groundnut pyramid, we had rice, our agriculture was doing very well. Now, until after that first coup and a lot of what happened in the country happened, and we started holding on to power, all of that was lost. With the coming of the oil, that further went down. And then lastly, I'll just add this point also. Anytime you hold on to power in any country or any nation where there are no checks and balances, all you have is that the people who are in power just accumulate the wealth for themselves and for their families. The southern part of the country, the southeast and the southwest, because they didn't hold on to power for a long time, the south, because of the civil war, they had to look deep inside and find means to develop their society. So that's why they are very strong in business. While the southwest, apart from the colonization and education that came to them, had this opportunity of now becoming the southwest is now the economic capital, as they say, of the whole nation. So there is a lot for us to do to reorient people in order to also build the infrastructural base that we have lost over these years. Since the coming of the democratic dispensation and power had shifted from different sides of the country, it has actually been a great opportunity for the northern part of the country, because people now are beginning to think, and they know that power will only be with you for a while, and beyond that power, how do you survive? How do you become innovative? And how can you do other things to ensure that your place grows and develops? So I think we are catching up, and I hope that very soon we'll definitely catch up with the rest of the country.
Okay, so before I let you go,
yes,
I want to ask you one more question that is political, which is, and I'm not going to let you go, you're just going to wait until I finish talking to Patrick, because I'm going to bring all the men back. Do you think there is a power imbalance in the Nigerian power structure? Do you think there's an imbalance? Because every time in Nigeria now, you see, there is always agitation for something, especially from the southeast and the south, and agitation that they're being marginalized. As a northern Nigerian man who knows that for the past 60 years, a lot more people of northern extraction have ruled Nigeria, do you think there is an imbalance? And if yes, what do you think is the first step towards a more equitable nation?
All right. Thank you very much. I won't exactly say that there is an imbalance. What I will say is that it depends on how one is looking at the issue of the word power. Now, there is political power, there is economic power, we have financial power, we have academic power. There are different kinds of power. Now, when you are talking about political power, even when you talk about political power, I wouldn't exactly say that there is an imbalance that favors the North. Now, we have to divide politics into two. We had a lot of military coups in the past that brought people of northern extraction, and then we also had democratic dispensation. Now there has been an equality in terms of holding power, in terms of democratic orientation. We, the North, based on democracy, have held power at least, I think, 4 times through President Buhari currently now, Yaradua, Shehu Shagari. While the South have also held power through Olusegun Obasanjo, President Goodluck Jonathan, and also President Nnamdi Azikiwe. So there is a balance. There's a balance there. Now, secondly, people are always concerned about political appointments, the president of the country. But beneath that, there is a great imbalance that does not favor the North. Because beneath the politics at the top, people holding and becoming presidents, because of, like I said, what happened during independence and how we bequeathed our country. Underneath, I worked in the Federal Ministry of Health. You hardly see Northerners in the Federal Ministry of Health because the initial capital was in Lagos. There are more people of Southern extraction underneath, and they are the ones who are controlling the economy of the country. Yes, the ones that makes names, the political appointments, maybe ministers, a few director generals that are political appointments. You see a lot of Northerners probably there, but underneath, completely downwards, underneath that pyramid, below, there are no much Northerners. So we will say that there are no much, there is still an imbalance in that direction that needs to be balanced up. Also, a lot of people say that the North have held on to power, especially in the military. That I will agree for a very long time. But people do not ask themselves questions. That's why history is very important. How did this come to be? Now, basically, a lot of what in Nigeria has evolved from independence till today, and people don't see that evolution that has taken place in the country. Now, what has happened is that after the independence, there was a first coup. Now, that coup led to the death. The coup was mainly done by Southerners, particularly Southeast, led by Chukwuemeka Nzegwu at that time. Now, that coup led to the death of a lot of people of northern extractions, Ahmadu Bello, Tafawa Balewa, and co. Now, in terms of agitation, there was that agitation. That was what led thereafter all the coups that took place to kind of like indirectly, psychologically compensate the North. You'll find out that anytime a coup takes place in the country, Northerners become the leader at the end of that coup. However, we held power, the North held power for a very long time, down to the time of General Ibrahim Badamasi Babangida from my state, a father figure, when he was supposed to give power to President Moshood Abiola, who won the election of Southern election. He did not do that. Now, that led to another agitation.
I don't need your internet to be gone at this point to no, I wish you need to hear the end of that that answer, because it's always good to hear all our sides. And by the time I wrap up that segment, I'm going to bring somebody from Southeast, and I'm going to ask Patrick to respond to some of the things that Dr. Jibril just said. So Patrick, I'm going to add you in the spotlight. I'm going to also ask you to unmute. When Dr. Jibril gets back, I'm going to let him finish his thought. But Patrick, I want you to respond to what he was saying about power imbalance in Nigeria.
Right now?
Yes, please. I want you to respond.
I think it's basically splitting hairs. It doesn't move any discussion forward. It doesn't move anything forward. So
do you think there is a power imbalance in Nigeria in the structure currently? And if you do think so, what do you think is one of the first steps towards, a more equitable and united country?
Well, anyone who argues or even raises the question of whether there's an imbalance, maybe playing tricks with words. It's very clear. It's clear to the blind that there's pure imbalance. But, that's not even the issue. The issue is fairness. That's the issue. You can have everybody in Nigeria come from Niger State. It doesn't matter, provided that people feel that they're being treated fairly. If they don't feel that they're being treated fairly, it doesn't matter. So I think the bigger issue is not where, and I hope that over time we get over this, whether the person is a Christian or a Muslim or from the North or from the South, and focus more on competence. Because everyone in Nigeria today is suffering, irrespective of whether you're Christian or Muslim, irrespective of whether you're from Anambra or you're from Katsina, you're suffering, right? So wouldn't you have rather had a government that is more competent than have a Muslim from Katsina? So that's why I think it's neither here nor there. You can have all the presidents come from my village, it doesn't move the dial. Yeah. Okay,
so I'm going to let Dr. Jibril finish his thought, because people are texting me, telling me that this politics that we're talking about, we're shaking tables, and usually at CEO, we don't talk about it. But I think that this is a topic that we need to talk about because of all of the craziness that is going on in Nigeria. So please, I'll let you finish your thoughts, sir. So I'm going to ask you to unmute.
I think he's muted.
Yes. So I've asked him to unmute. Let's see. So Jibril, I'm asking you to unmute. I hope you can ask to unmute.
Yes. I don't know. Sorry about the challenges that we're having. I don't know if you can hear me now.
We can hear you, sir.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you, sir. Yes.
All right. I'm sorry about that. Thank you very much. I'm glad to be back. I heard my brother speaking. Yes, you see, I agree with a lot of what he has said regarding the issue. But what I would still reiterate is that a lot of people think when I'm speaking and I'm speaking politically or trying to defend the northern region, I'm not trying to do that. Like I said, and I said clearly that when you look at it in terms of holding of power, if you join the military region from independence till date, yes, then you can say there has been an imbalance and northerners have held on to power based on the military coups that has taken place over the years from that time till now. But you must also recognize what brought about that. And we must also recognize the fact of what brought about that we are now in a democratic dispensation. And if you are looking at the democratic dispensation, I will say there has not been an imbalance of power. Even if you take the democratic dispensation starting from 1999 till date. And it's not something that one should be sentimental about. Yes, just to reiterate myself again, yes, if you look at it and include the military regime and coup, yes, the North has held on to power. But if you are looking at today as it is, no, the North has not, there has been a balance right now. Now, secondly, and this is very important and critical for us to hear and to understand, if we look at the power structure below the political holding of power, that is a massive imbalance that is not in favor of the North right now. Now, there's nothing wrong with that. It doesn't mean that one is trying to agitate or one is trying to not recognize the fact that people love to see that it is somebody of their own extraction that is holding up to power at the top. So I'll leave it as it is. Policy is usually a sensitive question. Now, the last question that you asked, what can we do? What is it that we can do to bring the country together?
Yes.
Now, what I will say that we can do, I will say it's what we are already doing. But is that how can we, at the moment, institutionalize and strengthen what we are already doing? What we are doing now is that in Nigeria, we have a democratic rule in Nigeria. Now, and though not in our constitution, however, based on the gentleman arrangement by all parties in the country, be it the ruling party, APC or the PDP, there is this subtle agitation or this subtle rule that the North will rule for a certain period of time. Thereafter, power will go to the South. I am somebody who advocates and who believes in this rotation of power for the main time. Now, not because it is the best. Is the best. Democracy is not even the best form of government, but it's the best form of government in a diverse society. So yes, I am somebody who will continue to promote a shift of power. Like now, Buhari has held on to the president, our current president, Muhammadu Buhari, has held on to, and that is the North, has held on to power for 8 years. I will continue to promote that the next president should come from the southern part of the country. Now, a lot of people will shake their head and say, no, we must recognize our peculiarity. Yes, as our democracy begins to grow and develop in the future, we will hope and focus more on capacity, on ability, on the quality of the candidate, irrespective of where he comes from. But for now, in the evolution of our growth as a nation and the evolution of our democracy, I don't think we have really reached that place where we have built enough trust between us, both the North and the South, since the amalgamation of the Northern and Southern Protectorate in 1914. We have not reached there yet. And in addition, and importantly, I always have this belief that when you do the zoning, like assuming power is zoned to the South now, if you are looking for a competent person, yes, Nigeria has a challenge with education of people and so on and so forth, but if you are looking for the competent person in any village in Nigeria today, you will find one. So what we need to do is that process of selecting our leader, whether it is from the north or from the south. But in order for us to have an inclusion, for us to have unity, and for everyone to feel as part of that nation, and importantly, as a medical doctor, and understanding the psychology, some people who just want to hear that, yes, somebody from my own region is the president of the country and it makes him happy. There are competent people in every part of Nigeria. I'm a medical doctor from a small village in Niger State called Shakwata. So I think I am there. You two, you are there from your own village. So I think for now, we should still continue this rotation of the presidency and let the presidency go to the southern part of Nigeria come 2023. And thereafter, by 2031, let it come back to the north. And thereafter again, probably sometime around that, maybe in the next 16, 20 years, I wouldn't rush it. It will come to a time, it will happen naturally. That is how societies develop. America went through a civil war. Most society went through various challenges before they came to what they have now as a fairly stable political system. And I think it's something that all of us need to look into. So in order to unify the country, I think we should still stick to this rotation. And I'm calling upon the two largest parties, the APC and the PDP, to show that strength of character and to show that sense of bringing everybody together, and come 2023 to allow power to go back to the southern part of the country.
Thank you, Dr. Jibril. Spoken like a politician. Please stand by for me. I'm going to bring all the 4 men together. I'm itching to talk to my friend Patrick Okigbo, because and I was going to start from cultural issues. I was going to start from culture, but I'm going to start from politics. I'm going to start from the middle of the thing, because I feel like this is something that we don't discuss enough of, and we need to have some important conversations. First of all, before I ask you this question, I want to say that me personally, I don't go into debates with people about Nigerian civil war. I don't debate it. Not because I haven't heard anything or learned anything, but because unless you, the person who wants to debate me, fought in that war, whether on the federal side or the Biafra side, I don't want to hear it, because everybody is coming with some sort of hearsay and baggage. So this is not about the civil war. This is about the agitation from the Southeast and the South-South, that there is marginalization. We hear it all the time. The Southeast is marginalized. The South-South is marginalized. At what point do we look inward as people from, do you look inward as from the Southeast and South-South to say, what about the ministers they've been appointing from our side? What about our governor? Somebody showed a video on Twitter yesterday of Abia State. If you see a long stretch of road filled with refuse, it was a huge dumpster. And I was like, is there a governor in this state? What about, can we bring this same energy into a governor that is using all our money to build hotel and build statues? Or not give James Ibori a title. My point is, what are you doing to move the conversation forward about us having, some accountability in the region?
Okay, thank you, Tope. These are very tricky questions, and the time allotted does not, provide the opportunity to really tease out all of the complex issues that are bundled up in the question you've asked. But if we mix it up the way you've done, then we miss the point.
Okay.
The point of the marginalization, the chant for marginalization, is not about whether the governor is doing right or not. It's not that one, because no governor in Nigeria is doing right by their people, none. Yeah. So you can't say to the Southeast and the South-South, don't talk about marginalization, or take your energy that you want to use in talking about marginalization to go and talk about your governor not doing well. Okay, everybody go home and talk about your governor not doing well. So we've chosen, or we've agreed that poor performance is the LCM. So we're looking above the LCM now to say, okay, what else is going on? And the people from the South-South and the Southeast say that they're being marginalized. Now, I don't like to mix the two regions because their issues are different. The issues in the South-South is is incredibly bad. So let's leave that one out. Everybody who says marginalization is South-South, right. Let's leave that one out. When you come to the Southeast, the issue of marginalization in the Southeast is much deeper than what people think it is. It is not about Buhari. It is not about Igbo presidency, which I, by the way, think is the fair thing to do. The right thing to do is Igbo presidency. Yeah.
Will you run?
I will come back to answer that question so I don't lose my chain of thought. But it's not necessarily, the marginalization is not about the Igbo presidency. It is basically about a sense of fairness, a sense that nobody is a second-class citizen in this country. Let me give you an example. People wonder why the Igbos voted for Jonathan or supported him. And when it was clear that Jonathan was going to lose the election, the Igbos went all the way and cast their suicide vote. Why? I boil it down to two simple things. Number one, he made Enugu Airport an international airport. Number two, he made an Igbo man chief of army staff. These two things did not add one kobo in anybody's pocket, but it meant something at a deeper emotional level for every Igbo person. So until you understand where the issues hurt the people, you may not understand the clamor for, or the debate about marginalization. It's not about what has the government of Nigeria done for any Igbo man? Nothing, zilch.
What has the government of Nigeria done for any non-Igbo man? Zilch.
Say that again.
What has the government of Nigeria done for any non-Igbo man? Zilch. Which is why I said, hold on, I truly agree with everything you've said, but my point was, when we then have our people in government, like we had Diziani in government, at what point do we begin to hold those people responsible for what they did or did not do?
Okay, so again, if you ask that question, it misses the point. Because for every Dezani, I can give you 5 other Dezanis from every region of Nigeria.
Mm-hmm.
So once we start singling people out, we misconstrue it again. The day we choose to talk about corruption, let's talk about corruption and just deal with corruption, because corruption is the LCM, and we've gotten comfortable with it, unfortunately. So the issue here is not about, when people shout, when you hear people like Nnamdi Kanu and so on shout about Biafra and so on, it is not. It is because of certain unanswered questions. And I have said it in many public posts, right? I posted something the other day and I said, something around the fact that I am sorry. Yeah, I am sorry. 3 simple words, but very impactful in meaning. There's so many of the problems we have in Nigeria today that I am sorry would have diffused. When Gowon went to Asaba and looked the people in the eye and said, I am really sorry for the massacre that happened in Asaba. He solved Nigeria's generational problem. And that is what people are asking for. It's just a sense for fairness and not any of these. You make a man from my village president of Nigeria today. Do you know that the road that leads to Jonathan's house in Otueke is not tarred? Which is my point. That is exactly my point. Do you know that the people in Katsina, Buhari's hometown, are poorer than any poor person you meet in the South? Exactly my point. Exactly my point. It's not about all of these issues. The agitation and the marginalization is a baptismal name for something else. Yes. People are talking about something else. And what they're talking about is equity, fairness, and justice. That's all. And I agree with you wholeheartedly, which is why I said we with a platform need to steer people in the direction where the problem is. The problem is corruption. The problem is incompetence. The problem is ridiculousness. I did some romance with this administration when they first started. And I remember going to a meeting during the transition, and the transition committee chairperson, Ahmed Joda, asked a northern Nigerian man, Muslim, to pray. And I was standing between a Yoruba man, a Yoruba Muslim, and an Igbo Christian. And the next thing, I started thinking in my mind, why is he asking a northern
well, first of all, why do Nigerians have to pray in any event? First of all, why can't you just pray your mind or pray from your house? Then I said, why have you asked somebody who is from your side, who is Muslim, to pray? And I'm there, I'm Muslim, and I'm rebelling. And this Muslim man, who is a very popular Nigerian, started asking everyone in the room to recite Surah Al-Fatiha, which every Muslim knows. And then I got mad. And I looked at my friend Idris Bello, who is also Yoruba and Muslim, and I started mouthing to him, what is the meaning of this? But guess what? The Igbo man beside me, his hand is up. And he's reciting Fatiha, which I did not even know how he knew. And then I sat down there and I said, the truth is, the bone that will be thrown to us is going to be about tribe and about religion. But that's not really the issue. And I'm hoping, my point is, I'm hoping that, yes, in looking for fairness, that we also begin to hold our people accountable. Obasanjo, in his presidency, I can't count one thing that he did for my state. It's from my state, from Ogun State. I don't know about him being president, but I want to move away from politics and go to culture. Many Nigerian customs are unfair to women, particularly widows. This is widows. People are celebrating widows today, so I think this is a very important thing. But however, let's talk about the Southeast now and some of the customs in the Southeast. One of the things that I find very disturbing is making a woman sleep on the floor so that her husband can rise from the dead, or demanding that she does something as humiliating as shaving her hair, or assigning people from the family to control the assets. I feel like the plight of the widows in the Southeast is scary as other parts of the country. What are you doing as a man who has a wife from that region to protect your wife and to protect your children?
Interesting question. And it's difficult to know how to begin to unpack it, but I'll attempt. And so let me start from a macro level and work it down. One of the most remarkable books I've read this year is titled The Weirdest People in the World, right? Fascinating book. If you like people like Robinson and Asimoglu or Jared Diamond, you love these guys. The guy who wrote it, Joseph Henrys. What he did was he traced a history of how the West became the West and how the rest of us remain undeveloped. And WEIRD here is an acronym for Western, Educated, Industrialized, Rich, and Democratic. And he traced everything down to religion and culture and how, the Catholic Church, and it's a long story, but, basically how the Catholic Church and some of the things it did, got Europe and America to move in a different direction, and the rest of the world got stuck with the culture they inherited, right? So culture becomes a very strong factor to explore when you're talking about development. Now, you're right. In small pockets of Igbo society, they still maintain some of these variants of a dying culture. It's a dying culture. Most educated communities and families have moved on from these practices. However, it's still a blight, that there are still some individuals who still hold on to these practices. But culture has a strong hold on people, right? For instance, when I lost my dad a few years ago, about 8 years ago, my mom, who is super educated, dynamic woman, retired as a senior lecturer in a university, insisted on shaving her hair, right? And I opposed, like all my other siblings, one boy of 3 girls, 2 of them medical doctors, one in the UK, one in the US, the other one very well here in Nigeria, working a good job. We, very, very cosmopolitan, very educated family. We said to her, why do you have to do that? And she said, it's her own mark of respect for her husband. Nobody forced her. We gave her an out. She insisted. And she did it the traditional way of getting her fellow women to cut her hair. I could have done a better job of giving her a haircut, but she wanted it the traditional way, right? And for 1 year, she wore only white cloth, dress, yeah? Again, as a way to mourn her husband. And who am I to tell anyone how to deal with grief? I shared my own view. She decided that for whatever reason, her upbringing, because as we get old, we go back to being kids, it's part of her culture. It meant a lot to her. She insisted on doing it and so on. Let me bring it to a macro level again. And a similar example is the reverence. Ndi Igbo, accord the dead. We spend a lot of money in funerals. We bury people for 1 week. It's a big fanfare. You sell a house to bury the dead, right? Or you go to the bank and borrow money to bury the dead. The governments of many states have decreed that burials must be done one day. They insist that you start the burial in the morning, you end it in the evening. That you don't cook in the house where the deceased is from, just to help the people. The same people find a way to walk around this thing. So you won't cook in your house, but you go down the road to your brother's house and you set up a big canopy and there's a feast, right? And this is the government passing state laws. So I think the solution is, and these cultures are dying because, again, for instance, in Anambra now, the governor says, if you're caught doing this, the penalty is so high. So only the really rich people will pay the penalty and move on with it. But I think the more the people are becoming exposed to a wider world view, the faster these cultures will evolve. And that's also the story in the book I referenced initially. Yeah, this evolution will require that we talk about it. We talk about the ills of these cultural practices as we're doing now. It will require that we have access to more education, and education here is not just going to school. It's a complete psychological rework. And that happens to an educated mind, not just a mind that has gone to school, but a mind that is open to new experiences and so on. So it's a blight, but it's a blight that is dying off. There's a Supreme Court judgment that women can inherit their father's property. 5 years ago, that wasn't the case, but today, because of that Supreme Court judgment and because the people are now more aware, that would work. If that Supreme Court judgment came out like 15, 20 years ago, it's possible that it wouldn't work. But today, people are attuned to what, that these cultures don't make sense, and when you back it with law, it works.
Thank you so much. You were talking and I remembered, I don't know if you're old enough to remember who John Chukwu was, but he was a very popular person in the social thing. He was my neighbor. And then he died. And we were sad because he was such a nice man. He was living behind our house. And I remember his burial was such a huge party. And I was thinking, this man was not old. Why are they doing this? Are they the ones that killed him? But honestly, you just educated me because I didn't know that this was a custom or a culture. But
the cultural thing. Yeah.
The cultural thing. So one thing I want to say that when I'm writing these questions, I know some of the questions are difficult questions. I know some of them are controversial questions. I know some of them will make people uncomfortable. I told the men before that they should be, prepared for some of these questions that would look like I'm attacking their culture, their religion, or their tribe, or their politics. But this is what we are here to do, to bring out some of these issues. So thank you for doing that. And in doing that, Maryam had talked about child marriage in the North. Her saying that she wanted to get married when she was 16 by choice because she wanted to be friendly with her husband and grow up with him like her grandmother really changed my mindset about Northern Nigeria and early marriage. You talking about your mom wanting to shave her hair, not being forced to shave that hair, really changed, my mind about, Southeasterners and that particular custom that I just found thing. And then Imam Jimoh talking about Muslim men and what the rights of women are. I hope people have gotten an education because this is another stereotype that we have about Muslim women and what our rights are. So final question I'm going to ask you, Patrick. And this question, I wish people were in your session yesterday. You had an event yesterday that oh my God. My husband kept saying, hey, you people are speaking English because he was hearing. And it was like, they're just speaking English, they're just speaking English. But this was something that I know you cannot, summarize in 2 seconds, but you served in Goodluck Jonathan's administration. And you and I went to school together. You're a very qualified person, even if, I don't tell you that all the time because I knew you when you were poor. But, you're a very respected, brilliant mind. and you try to tackle an issue that you had experience in, a wicked problem like power, there's still no light in Nigeria. Why is it that people like you go into government and then we don't see any movement forward?
Okay, that's a brilliant question. And it kind of, it's a much bigger question than the one we tried to answer yesterday. The one yesterday was a subset of this question. But yes, I had the honor of being part of a team that developed Nigeria's roadmap on power sector reforms under the leadership of Professor Batin Naji, and also serving as an aide to President Jonathan. In the decade or so since we did that work, I have remained actively involved in the power sector. So I run a firm that looks at the space, blah, blah, blah. When you boil everything down, and you sieve it and you squeeze it, and at the bottom of it, the problem with Nigeria's power sector is not technical. The technology we're dealing with is 100 years old. It's not technical. It is not operational. We can solve that one. It is not a financial problem. It is really a human being problem. Chinua Achebe wrote a book, The Trouble with Nigeria, right? And he said, at the purest form of it, it is a failure of leadership. What we have is a complete and utter failure of leadership. Give Nigeria's power sector to a different, I don't know how to put this, but so it doesn't sound political, but let me try. Under Jonathan, we did something remarkable. We sold the power assets, right? These were assets that were not making money, so we had to convince people to buy it. How did this happen? Jonathan set up a group called the Presidential Action Committee on Power, and every relevant minister was part of this group. A roadmap was designed, and everybody's role in the roadmap was defined. And Jonathan sat in that meeting every week, and every minister had to come and mark their report card every week. That was how we were able to do what no other country has been able to do, to sell your generation and your distribution companies at the same time. But even in doing that, there were still those mistakes of, where you sell to cronies, and, the laws that should be in place are not put in place because it will favor some people or not favor some people. So all of those people issues still crept in that process. What we have today is that what needs to happen in the sector, very clear. But if you do it, there's some political risk. For instance, if you increase tariffs today, Nigerians will go on the streets. But if you don't increase tariff, money will not flow through the system. Number two, there is no coordination of the system. Everybody is a lord unto themselves. Why? Because we are watching body language. And the body language coming from the top is not as committed as it should be. So when you shake everything down, it's human beings. But we have seen countries where true leaders come in and they say, this is the way it's going to happen. And they force everybody to behave that way. And that's how, that's how countries develop. But if you're not able to bring that level of leadership, you can bring all the ideas, everything, it's not going to work. So the big problem we have in Nigeria, in the power sector, and again, in the bigger Nigeria, is that failure of leadership, which Achebe unfortunately pointed out many years ago. I think the book was written in 78 or something. And many decades later, we're still there. So it's really, it's not about me, it's not about the minister, it's that all of us, we're all fighting for turf, we want to control our space and whatever, we want to control some little advantages here and there, and then Nigerians suffer for it.
Ooh, thank you so much. Thank you. This was one elephant that I was very afraid to bring into the room, because when it comes to tribe and religion, Nigerians get overly emotional and people don't use any common sense. And I was actually getting some chat messages and I was like, hey, we need to calm this down. So, but thank you so much. Imam Jimoh, let me see if I can find you to bring you back. I always tell people that even in the state of Maryland, where I live, people will, there's a part of our state that always consistently wants to secede. You've lived in Maryland before, Patrick, so you know the Eastern Shore. Of our 8 congressional seats in the state of Maryland, 7 are consistently held by Democrats one, which is the Eastern Shore, which in terms of landmass, they should have more seats than they have. But yeah, the way it works in Nigeria is the way it works here. They will zone their enemies to one side. And that particular side will always want to secede. They want their own state. Texas wants its own country. California, which is the third largest, whatever economy in the world, they want to recall their governor because they ate in a restaurant. Every time we are governing as human beings, there's always going to be something that's going to divide us, whether it is religion, whether it is politics, whether it is this. But eventually, I'm hoping that everyone who has listened here today can commit to equity and fairness, can commit to competence, can commit to being open and having a conversation that is open-minded, that Patrick can have a conversation with Dr. Jibril and they can talk as human beings, not as somebody from Anambra versus somebody from some other place. That is the way forward, hopefully, for us. So thank you all, gentlemen. I'm going to round this up, and I know we were supposed to finish a minute ago, but this is a very important question that I have to ask all of these men here today. Very important question. So, gentlemen, the world said money troubles was the reason why divorce rate was high. Everybody say, money is the cost of divorce. Well, in this pandemic, Bill Gates' wife has left him. In this pandemic, Jeff Bezos' wife has left him. It remains Warren Buffett. I hope I don't know who his wife is, but I hope she does not leave him. But, so we now know clearly having money is not the only reason why people, or not having money is not the reason why people don't divorce. What do you see as the biggest driver of divorce among, men that look like you? And what are you doing to keep your wife happy? Because we all know that's the key to long life. Patrick, I'll start with you.
Me?
Yes.
Where you have Lanre there to start with.
No, so that's with you. That's with
okay. So I don't know. I don't have the answer, right? So once we get into this whole, the emotional side of things, you lose me because I don't have the answer. I don't know.
No, wait, hold on.
I can tell you what I'm doing.
Hold on. This is why you people saw the questions I asked Patrick were very hard questions. So this is why, because I know him very well. He doesn't like these mushy things. That's why I wanted him to go first. So yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so I can tell you what I'm trying to do to preserve my own marriage. I don't know if it will work or not, but at least that's what I'm trying, right? So I think that in life, once you treat people the way you would like to be treated, right? There's a higher probability that you have a good relationship. And it's between people, between societies, etc. So I try very hard in every decision I make to say, Obulum, if it was me, how would I feel about it? Yeah. And I have found that in that approach, we are still doing it and it's working. I have also learned, why are you laughing now? I have also learned that I am sorry is very powerful. So, and if you're open to examining, and so, okay, so there's something my wife says to me, right? She says, it's not, she says it's about the way I feel, not about the way you think about what you've done, right? So you might think that what you did is right, but I feel bad about it. So you have to apologize. Yeah. Then I've realized that, this apology is a wonderful thing. Once you say it, then everything is okay. Yeah? And because I'm someone who doesn't like to talk too much, you apologize, then you make a note that this is the one she does not like, you mark it, and you try to avoid that one. That's my own approach. It's still working small. So, but I don't know if it's the right approach. So let's listen to Lanre. We listen to him a lot. Let him tell us what to do.
And since Lanre is the official representative of the Yoruba angels, there's the Yoruba demons, but he's the official representative of the Yoruba angels. All of you, it just occurred to me that the four of you on this panel, I know your wives. So this is funny. Lanre, what is the problem? And what are you doing to make sure that you have long life?
Well, okay. My my wife is not here, so she won't shout over me and say I'm telling lies, you know, because again, like Patrick, I'm not sure. There are many reasons, right? There are many reasons. And I think that this, when we say high divorce rates, could it be that people were just managing each other in centuries past, and now, you know, there are more opportunities and people are just really saying, you know what, why should I stick up with this? So maybe it's not as if things got worse, but people probably got more options to up and, you know, away. And so, and I think therefore the problems would be age-long problems also, you know, for whatever reason, you know, there's no connection, you're married to a narcissist or a sociopath or whatever it is, you know. But what I can say is what, like Patrick, I've been trying for 15 years to do, which is basically to be a better person. You see, it's incredible, this I'm sorry that Patrick just talked about. I didn't realize how important, you know, I mean, it was to my wife. And it literally just quenches, it's incredible, you know. And, you know, I'm like, can that be, you know, surely she must be thinking. So basic things like that, just trying to understand your spouse for who she, you know, your wife or your spouse for who they are. For me, I think that allowing myself to be vulnerable and my wife seeing that also has helped, because I think I come across, like I really, really rely on you. Like I used to say before I got married, even before I met my wife, that if my wife betrays me, then I'll be truly betrayed. You know, these are things I said as a young man, that because I really wanted to really, really have a bond, you know, with my wife. That's what I set out to do. And so very early, you know, so for example, my phone, my wife was my password, she has always known everything about me. So that's, you know, thing I said about if my wife betrays me, then I'll be truly betrayed. I've just allowed myself to stay in that space. Do I hear war stories out there about, if you hear what this person's wife did to this person? Countless, right? But I've just managed, I've decided to stay in that space, that, you know what, it helps my sanity. I don't want to be running forward and looking backwards at the same time. So this is what I'm trying to do. She you know, I tell her everything about her. So I'm very vulnerable. And I feel she thinks that she can also rely on me because she knows that I'm not trying to keep any secrets. So far, you know, 15 years down the line, it appears to be working. Not that we don't have issues, and sometimes have serious issues, and, you know, there's silent treatment here and there, but you know that it's not, you're not trying to break the relationship. You're not trying to damage it. That, you know, you're working towards fixing things. You know, I came with my own baggage, you know, but I think that vulnerability aspect, you know, just knowing that, you know what, I really rely on this person, and she knows that I rely on her in several areas, you know, that if she betrays me, I'm truly betrayed. That's really how, and I think eventually also it became, I think from really very quickly, it became reciprocal. There was some reciprocity. And so we are very vulnerable to one another. And that's what I would say I've been doing. I try to just be vulnerable.
So first of all, before I let Dr. Jibril and Imam and Jimoh respond, I want to say, first of all, that somebody sent me a chat message now and said, Patrick, do you have any brothers you can recommend? And the answer, I didn't answer the person, this person sent to my phone. Please, you don't want, do you know Patrick? No, you don't want him to recommend any brothers to you. But I also know, I know Patrick, and I know Patrick's wife, and I know Patrick's in-laws, and I know that he's a good man. He's a good man, you know? And you, even though, I don't know, maybe Awele is trying, because 2004, I think that's when you got married, if you remember. So, because we were there, you've tried 17 years, it's not a joke. It is to keep quiet, you zip it. All right, okay, I got you. So I'm going to let Dr. Jibril, what do you think is one of the leading causes of divorce, and what are you doing to make my friend who is on this call, Dr. Amina, happy? She's here, or she's hearing you.
Yes, thank you very, very much. Yes, this is a very tricky question. But what I will say is that Mr. Patrick Okigbo has actually said a lot of things that I've also picked, and I think explains how we should live with our spouses. But I would say I have like 3 favorite quotes that I will share with everyone, and then also I think can work for quite a number of us. One is that I always had this belief when I got married that excitement brings us together, but commitment keeps us forever. Now, the reason why I say that is that I realized that we are usually excited at the beginning when you are when you love someone and cool. Now, but immediately after the excitement, probably after 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, or when the children start coming, now what will be left is the commitment. Now you commit yourself to continue to remain excited. Now you commit yourself that you want to stay in this thing for the long run, despite the challenges. So I think that quote has helped me. Now, the second quote that a friend of mine once said to me is I used to say that you need a little bit of comfort for love to thrive. Now, if you are looking at the economic situation in the country today, it's not an absolute rule. Now, but when there are challenges, either the wife not having a job or the man not having a job, the economy is not going very well. Now, that is a recipe for a lot of challenges, a lot of quarrels. So we tend to need a little bit of comfort. I tell a lot of people who are going to get married, newlywed people, that you need to make sure that you have something that you are doing so that your love will thrive. So you need a little bit of comfort for love to for your love to thrive. Then I will say lastly is that just like Mr. Okigbo Patrick has said, is that we need to recognize that we are all humans. Now, as humans, there are things that every human being needs. Now, every human being, whether male, female, or probably I will even say every living thing, even an animal, a dog, if you are beating him, he will not stay with you. If you are not kind to him, the dog will not stay with you, whether it's a dog or a cat. Now, every living thing that has feelings, has emotion. Now, we have to try our best and treat each other as one. So, like the golden rule, which he says, do for me what you would like to be done to another person. I think that will solve a lot of problems and challenges that we have. As a man, you think you want to be free, you want to be respected. Likewise for your wife, she wants to be free, she wants to be respected. And then when we understand that we are human beings, now because we are human beings, we will have our own human frailty. A lot of couples that you find out that they separate, even if you look at the Bill Gates situation, they talk about the issue of infidelity and so on and so forth. But probably they forgot that they are humans. And because they are humans, Bill Gates is the richest man in the world. You can imagine the amount of pressure you will have from every female wanting to be with him. Likewise, his wife too, she will also face that kind of challenges. So I'll also come lastly, I'll pick also from what Mr. Patrick Okigbo has said, the issue of I'm sorry. Now, yeah, if we make use of this I'm sorry very, very, very well, I think it will help each and every one of us. We will surely make mistake. I got married in 2002. Been married for 19 years now. Next year to be the 20th year. So I would say yes, quickly recognizing that we are all fallible, we'll all make mistake, and then simply just saying I'm sorry. But lastly, just to reiterate something beautiful that Mr. Patrick also said, is the issue of I like that concept. He said it's not how you think, but how I feel. And I think it's one of the major challenges in the marriage, because sometimes we do something to your spouse, she's not happy, and you're like, why are you not happy? I don't think I have done anything wrong to you. But I'll take note of that I might think I've not done anything, but if she feels it's wrong, I'll simply say I'm sorry. So for me, I think those are the issue. My last quote skipped my mind, but it has come back now. My last quote is I usually say that every relationship has its own love story. Now, everybody's relationship has its own love story, whether it is based on religion, based on culture, based on region, based on you in Nigeria marrying somebody outside. Like I and my wife, we were classmates in medical school. We were supposed to spend 6 years in medical school. Because of strike, we lost 4 years to strike, so we spent 10 years. So we were together for a very long. So our own story is that we were together for so long. We refused to graduate. We said, okay, let us just marry ourselves. Since we have refused to graduate, we're in the same class and we've been seeing each other for the past 10 years. We don't know whether we live in abuse area during the challenges time of strike. So So like I said, every relationship has its own love story. That was our own love story. And I give praise to God that we are still together. So yeah, it's a challenge. So I think that's what I would say regarding that. It's a work for both of us. Together, it's a major work. But I think maybe lastly, I will also add something that we do also in our home. In my own home, I love philosophy. So we say reason is the head of our family. Now, I'm not the head of the family. She's not the head of the family. Our children are not the head of the family. The head of our family is reason, whether you call it reason, rationality. What is right is the head of the family. When we go into any discussions, we see that if the writing comes from her, that's what we'll work with. If it comes from me, that's what I'll work with. Sometimes it comes from our children. We might be arguing, our children will say, no, I think we should go it this way. So at that moment, that's what we'll go with. So we wouldn't say, no, I'm the boss, you are the boss. Anything I say has to be right. No, we don't believe in that. What we think is that reason is the head of the family. And just to quickly digress a little, because I'm a politician, just to add a small thing. The issue of the I'm sorry. I loved when Patrick used that word, I'm sorry. I think generally in the whole of Nigeria as we are today, I'm sorry will do a lot of good things for us. For we as Northerners, we will hope for the day that some of our brothers from the South will tell us, I'm sorry for what happened, that we lost some of our great elders that up to today, we've not produced the like them, Ahmadu Bello, Tafawa Balewa. Now, and we the Northerners, I will also hope for a day that we will genuinely see our brothers from the southeast especially, and say to them, I'm sorry, one, for the civil war, but two, and importantly, for the marginalization that he was actually talking about that has happened to them from that time. Because it's one thing to do something that probably people feel is wrong, but it's another thing for several years to pass, and we are still holding on to that, and we have not, even children that are yet unborn that didn't even witness what happened are still paying for that. Then lastly, to the people from the Southwest, I will hope that we will genuinely, yes, in this government that has actually taken place, we are beginning to say, I'm sorry to the change of the Democracy Day from May 29, though I'm not happy with that because of May 29, the General Abdul was the one that handed over to Bukar, but still, but for peace and unity, we are beginning to say, I'm sorry by making June 12 the Democracy Day. So, but we need to find a platform where we say this, I'm sorry, genuinely by our leaders, come together as one and say, okay, during the evolution and growth of our country, at one point in time, we have fought each other in one way or the other for different reasons by different actors that have political actors. But maybe today, we the young people, we that are like we think, Desmond Tutu once said, there is no progress without forgiveness. So I hope that we'll genuinely say, I'm sorry to all of us for all the challenges that have taken place, and then make and forge ahead. And then lastly, because the last thing we discussed with him is the issue of culture, I will add that one, you asked a question about the issue of Boko Haram, kidnapping, and banditry that is taking place in the north. I'll say something a little bit controversial. There are many causes of what is happening in the north. I've talked about the issue of the fact that we held on to power was a problem to us, but importantly, the issue of the Al-Majri system in the north. That Al-Majri system has actually affected the northern part of the country. It has not been implemented as it should be implemented. There are lots of children, when I was in ABU Zara, there are lots of children roaming the streets under the guise of the fact that they are seeking for knowledge. When I left ABU Zaria in 2003, some of them were 7, 8, 9 years. But today, some of them are 25, 26, 30. They don't have anything that they are doing. They've not had fatherly love. They've not had education. They've not had anything. And they are posing a lot of threat. And they are in the millions. It's something that I'm hoping that our Imam, who is here with us, and all of us in the north must face it head on. The issue of the Al-Majri, the way we interpret our marriage system has posed a lot of challenge for us in the north. I'm hoping that God's willing will be able to overcome it. Thank you, and apologies for digressing a little bit.
Thank you. When we call a politician to the panel, we need our politicians. They must bring out the manifesto. Last but by no means the least, Imam, please, what do you think is the reason why marriages are crashing at faster rates these days? And what are you doing to keep your wife happy and to make sure you live long, sir?
I'm sure my wife would have been inching for you to call me. And calling me last, she's probably cursing you privately. That call him. I want to hear. But before then, I don't think you've been fair to me in terms of time allocated for questions, or maybe it is me. I tried to follow your instructions strictly by not speaking for too long, but then I've seen everybody else give lectures.
They are politicians, sir. Don't mind them, they're politicians. They are politicians, that's the problem.
Anyway, before the question, can I just contribute one or two comments to the issue of politics? Number one, there are three things. If they are lacking, even if one of them is lacking, politically speaking, we cannot see progress. Number one, sincerity of purpose. Number two, visionary leadership. Number three, a sense of accountability. Now, where a leader has sincerity of purpose, it means well, but it's not a visionary leader. You're not going to get anywhere. And we are probably there right now in terms of having a leader who means well, and then, but then where is the vision? And then the one who has vision, but then there is no sense of accountability, you are equally not going to get there. You need all three combined one way or another, and you stand a chance of making progress. The second comment on the issue of politics, it does not matter what kind of government that you run. Where those three things are present, you will make progress. We have in Saudi Arabia a monarchy kind of a government. The country is being run well, at least as far as Saudi citizens are concerned. We've been to Saudi Arabia, right? It's like being in America, it's like being in Europe. They do not conduct elections there. Number two, the same family has been in charge of the United Arab Emirates all these years, ever since the nation came to be. You go to Dubai, it's one of the best places to live on the surface of the earth. In China, there is a one-party state, the Communist Party of China. There is no opposition. China supplies products to everybody across the world. In America, you have the presidential system of government as we do in Nigeria. It is working. In Britain, you have the parliamentary system, where I can see Tope's face when I say it is working. In relative, wouldn't you want Nigeria to be like America in terms of development? Surely you would do. Finally, you have in Britain the parliamentary system of government, which was what we started with in 1960 in Nigeria. They still have it, and we've been to Britain. Some of us schooled in Britain, and it is working. Again, you have a combination of sincerity of purpose, visionary leadership, and a sense of accountability. Now to the question. This is my love story, and I'm sure there is no second man on the surface of the earth that this has happened to. I came from England then to meet my father-in-law to-be, to ask for his daughter's hand in marriage. I met and married my wife in London, right? We were both young people in London. And then my father-in-law said to me to write a letter to him to describe how I would look after his daughter. And I wrote this letter. So every time something would potentially go wrong, I would remember this letter that I wrote to my father-in-law, that I'm sure this man is waiting to bring this letter out one day to say, Nojeem, you told me this and you told me this. Glory be to God, he's never had a cause to bring out the letter. It's late now. Interestingly, just 3-4 weeks ago, I was looking for some documents and I came across this letter and I gave it to my wife, and my wife made a WhatsApp something and shared to everybody, to her siblings. She's on a platform that is a sibling. She's one of 6. And then everybody saw this letter, this love letter. People write love letters to their wives. My love letter was written to my father-in-law. Secondly, I owe one thing to that man before I'll come to his daughter. The first time, we live in Nigeria now, we've lived in Nigeria long now. But the first time we visited Nigeria together as a family with our daughter then, my father-in-law, who had a huge and successful career in the diplomatic service, right? You know, normally by culture, tradition in Yoruba land, that man is supposed to be there in his house, and I am supposed to come, lie down, idobale, as we say it, and then I'll be welcome. But my father-in-law came to the airport and he was waiting for us. And as we came out, even though I had made arrangements for my siblings and friends to meet me, there was my father-in-law waiting to receive his son-in-law and his daughter and their family. And I said to someone recently, I said, when one of my children will be married, the first time they will be visiting Nigeria, half of my children are overseas, half in Nigeria. I said, I'm going to replicate. I'm not going to ask them to write a letter, but I'm going to replicate. My son lives in London. My big daughter lives in London. And I have two others living with us in Nigeria. The first time any of them will be coming to Nigeria with their wife, I'm going to be there at the airport and I'm going to receive them. I'm not going to wait for them at home. And this is me replicating what my father-in-law did to me. Now, come to my wife. In my head, that word divorce does not exist as far as this, my wife, is concerned. Come what may, right? All couples would have issues, and we do have our own issues. I would say to people, if Pope John Paul and Mother Teresa, apologies to my Christian friends, if they were to live together in the same house, they are going to have frictions, they are going to have arguments, and they are going to have disagreements. I am not Pope John Paul, and my wife is not Mother Teresa. The more reason we are going to have arguments, and the more reason. But what is important in a marriage is to manage the arguments. And while you are managing it, then you are doing something wrong, right? We have 4 children, and then we see it as an obligation for these children to see us as role models, that they will be able to point at their parents and say that I actually want my daughters and my son to be able to say, I would like my marriage to be the way my parents' marriage are. And I think we owe it to them as well. Yes, we do have frictions, but we do talk about it, and then we do manage it. And finally, Mrs. Jimoh, I saw your chats, and, and it says something like, yeah, no, I'm sorry, and then corrective action thereafter. Your husband gets the message. Okay, baby. Thank you.
Oh, you know, first of all, I couldn't think about a more powerful way to end this segment. But before I wrap things up and, you know, ask if any of the gentlemen has anything to say, I want to say that if you're signed up to be with us on Saturday, if you sign up to be with us on Saturday, the first hour, we're going to be talking about this man. So I hope you've all taken your notes. We're going to be talking about them. That first hour, when we have happy hour, we're going to be talking about them. And I'm hoping that all of the women who have been on this call will share this video with their husbands or boyfriend or some other intended, because somebody better be writing a letter to my father. I wish I had known about that one before. If they had written letters to my father, maybe they would not have misbehaved at that time. But I want to quickly also run through the agenda for Saturday. We're going to start with a welfare you, a happy hour, and then we're going to talk to ladies in the C-suite. If you guys have seen the agenda, there are 2 women who are bank bosses who are going to talk to us about life in the C-suite, including living with Nigerian men while trying to rise in the C-suite. We're also going to talk about well woman, about aging. The focus is on aging. What should you be afraid of in terms of aging? One of the people who will be speaking that day is the lady who is an American trained nurse. She's in Nigeria, and my mom actually has a nurse who lives with her, and we're getting that nurse through this lady. I want to talk about what are the peculiarities of aging and what should we be doing to prepare for aging. On the flip side, we're talking to another psychotherapist about raising teenagers. depression and anxiety in teenagers. After that, we'll take a little break. When we come back, we will unmask pain, we would unveil strength, and we'll unleash progress when two women talk to us about their stories. I'm not going to say anything about their stories until you listen to them themselves. I'm not going to be asking them questions. They're going to tell us their story, and you would learn from it. We will then have Justice Olusola Williams. If you have DSTV, you'll see Judging Matters with Bukar and Justice Williams. Justice Williams is going to be here. We're going to talk about women's rights according to the law in Nigeria. We've talked about culture now. We're going to talk about according to the law. What right does a woman have? And if those rights are infringed upon, what can you do? And we're going to spend some time talking about the divorce process in Nigeria. I mean, Nigeria is still death do you part for real. Like, you can be in court for like 40 years trying to divorce a bad man. We're going to talk about those rights. Finally, we will meet the woman, the only person who can say that she had a choice in what I studied in university. Miss Ego Boyo of Checkmate. She's going to be with us, close the show with us on Saturday. So if you haven't registered, make sure you register. Go to ceo100.com/events to be with us. Gentlemen, if your wives want to come, you cannot come, but if your wives want to come, hit me up. I will give them a ticket to come, because it would be nice for us to hear their own side of the story. People that are talking about how you say, I'm sorry, and Patrick writing poem around the whole place. But I want to thank you so much for joining us today. I want to thank all of the speakers, not just you guys. I want to thank Maryam, Bukar, the poet. I want to thank Dr. Yetunde Adewunmi. I want to thank Ojinika, Obiekwe. And I want to thank our sponsors, Adewale Ajayi, Dimitri Salaudin, Ayo Salami, Tony Bagi, Latifa, Edith, Alliant Law, and Hale and Hertie Pharmacy. I also want to thank Osayo Jigo, Tosio Koje, Yewande Daniel Ayoade, and Women Radio 91.7 FM, the voice for women in Nigeria. Thank you all so much, gentlemen. I warned you that the questions will be hot, that you will feel like I'm attacking your tribe, your religion, your personal life, everything. But you guys handled it with such grace. And, I really learned a lot from listening to you guys. I really, really want to thank you, Patrick Okigbo, Lanre, Akinbo, Dr. Mustapha, Jibril, and Imam, Nojeem, Jimoh. If you guys want to say something, 30 seconds, I will let you, close out the show for us. Patrick, do you have anything to say?
Just to encourage you with what you're doing. It's not easy to do these things and stay with it. And just keep up. Sometimes it might seem like it's not resonating, but trust me, people are paying attention. So stay with it.
Thank you so much, Patrick. Thank you. That means a lot to me, because personally, before we went live, I was saying Ojinika and Sekina that I don't know why I keep doing this thing. It's driving me crazy. But thank you. That means a lot to me. Lanre, final words.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me. It's been a very interesting and eye-opening session. Thanks to, the ladies, it's largely ladies here, thank you for being kind to us, for listening to us, and, thank you, Tope, for keeping this up this many years. I'm sure it's really been very beneficial to everyone who has attended. I remember sponsoring some ladies many years ago. They came back with stories, and like, wow, and thank you for keeping it up. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you.
Have a good evening.
Before I ask Dr. Jibril and Imam Jim, I want to say that Patrick and Lanre are the only two people on this panel that I can say beat my chest that I knew them before they were rich. I knew them when they were very poor. So you might see them, Lanre is in the National Economic Summit Group, Patrick doing big things in Abuja up and down. But I used to know these guys when they had no money and they had no cars. So, thank you guys for staying with me and for, and I'll never forget something that Patrick said to me. You'd forgotten. When I wanted to quit my job in 2015, you said, what's the worst that can happen? You don't make it. I have a desk for you in my office in Abuja. Come and sit down there. So thank you for always pushing and, encouraging. I really, really appreciate you guys. Dr. Mustapha Jibril, final words, please.
All right. Thank you very much. I will first and foremost want to quickly thank my wife, Dr. Amina Aminu Ray, for putting me on the hot seat. When she told me about participating in this program, I said to myself, today I was telling her, hey, I've entered your one chance today. But after all the discussions, I'm very, very happy. Tope, Mr. Patrick have said it all. You're doing a very great job. You and your team and all the ladies. We will continue to support you, and we're really happy with what you are doing. The last thing that I'll also say, I usually like to talk as a politician, but in 5 seconds, I'll say a few things. One, I forgot when I was saying I'm sorry. I'm copying from Mr. Patrick. I forgot to say I'm sorry to the South because of we had used their oil for a very long time. We marginalized them. We thank President Obasanjo for giving them a 10% derivation to try and sort out that issue, but we'll still say I'm sorry. And then coming off Goodluck Jonathan as a vice president and eventually as a president was part of trying to solve that challenge that we faced in the past. Lastly, I will still say that politically, I still wish that power will go back to the South. If the presidency is coming from the Southwest, I would root for I would root for the Vice President, Osinbajo. And if it's coming from the South, from the Southwest, I root for President Osinbajo, the Vice President Osinbajo. And if it's coming from the Southeast area, I would have loved to root for Soludo because of something that Mr. Patrick said. Mr. Patrick said we would need a leader that can come in and kind of like force certain things down our throat. And one person in the history of Nigerian leadership that has been able to do that was Charles Chukwuma Soludo. That banking reform that he did was super excellent. I was one of the people that didn't believe it will work. He said it was going to work. He was going to merge the banks. He merged the banks, and it is working. It's part of the reason today why we have the ATM and our banks are still strong, up to date. I would have really loved him. He was my choice. My wife knows that he's my choice for the next president of the country. Sadly, he's going for the governor of Anambra State. I saw yesterday that he had won his primaries. I wish him good luck in what he's doing, but I would have really loved it. If I was to pick one person from the South, I would have picked Charles Soludo to come and perform that his banking reform magic in our nation. So, but I'm happy to be here, and I thank you very much for giving us this and giving me this opportunity. I wish you all the best.
Thank you so much, Imam Jimoh, sir.
Dr. Jibril, politicians always campaign, and then they always seize opportunities to campaign. Tope, I wouldn't know how I came into your thoughts and how I got to be a panelist on this. As you know, I've followed you on social media for long. Indeed, I once predicted you as a minister at some stage in the future. That was Minister of Finance, I said then. But then now, I wouldn't even know whether to make you Minister for Agriculture or Minister for Chit Chat or Minister for Women Affairs. But the one thing that is certain, I think you are on the way to becoming the Oprah Winfrey of Nigeria. And then I wish you everything good as you make that journey. Thank you very much for the invitation. I am much obliged.
Thank you all so much. And before I say thank you to the audience members who stayed here, who are here, and those who will watch in the future, I want to thank my assistant, Sekinat. Sekinat, thank you so much. Thank you. She started working with me last year, and honestly, my life has been better. And she knows that, oh Lord, I'm a workaholic, and I know I work hard to, like, sometimes I try not to send her messages at odd hours or in the weekend, but she's, always very gracious. Sakina, thank you so much for the value that you brought to Shio and the value that you bring to me.
Thank you, Mustapha. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you all the ladies who have come to every Shio that is comable. I'm going to see you guys on Saturday. God bless you all. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I'm going to stop recording now.